which stands one nation, God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I salute the flag of the state of New Mexico, the symbol of perfect friendship among united cultures. Robbie, would you please lead us in invocation?
Heavenly Father, we just love you so much, Lord God, and we just thank you so much for the time you give us to come together this work as a community and to be like school business. We just pray for your leadership and your guidance. As the kids do what's best for the community and make decisions that you can have to make. We just pray that you lead us in everything we do and in everything we do, you are Lord. We love you, we thank you. It's in Jesus' name we pray.
Thank you. Call this meeting to order. I want to welcome all of our guests, teachers, parents. Cody wasn't able to be here. He's our president and the vice president. So I'm sitting in tonight. So I have a question based on the agenda, so that you're more than welcome to sit in on the whole meeting. But is anyone opposed to changing the agenda up where we can move on to the items that the guests are here for to speak?
Only the reports and agenda. I mean, you only got
It'll take just a little bit to get through the reports. Okay. Yeah. Anyone opposed? Could I have a motion to change the agenda? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
What was you have the motion with changes.
Yes, the motion
Yeah,
would be based on the person that made it.
Robbie, what's the amendment officially?
I so moved to move the public comment up to the first item.
You probably agree with that.
Yeah, Kyle second.
I don't think but you. I'm gonna call the voice.
No, Todd, don't matter.
So just to share the general rules with you all, it was posted that we allow up to 15 minutes. Once we meet that 15 minutes, since that's what.
No, 15 minutes, 2 minutes per person.
15 minutes. It was 15 minutes on the notice. So that's minimal. So what the board, I'll have to ask and make sure the board is okay. If we run into the 15 minutes and there are still folks that want to speak, each person being allowed 2 minutes to speak, okay, then we'll extend that 15 minutes. So let's see if we hit the 15 minutes, and then if we need to exceed that, the board will have a discussion. We'll decide how we want to proceed, and then if we so choose, then we'll extend it beyond the 15 minutes. Okay. All right. So would you mind timing the 2 minutes? Okay. Okay, so we'll take the first public comment. And just so you all know, this is also being recorded.
Robin Dunn. Mr. Clerk, and members of the board, thank you for the few moments that you're allowing for community input tonight. A few years ago, my granddaughter started attending 6th grade in the Corona schools, one of the few schools with in-person learning. She thrived in this school's environment at the time. She turned her academics around, and her whole experience was just thank you all for that. However, Corona schools today is a much different environment. It is in disarray and a state of decay. I pulled up to one of the doors a week ago and again tonight to see weeds a foot tall. The buildings are old, but they shouldn't look neglected. It looks as if no one cares I know that's not true for most of the staff, but to echo Lauren Patterson's comments at the last month's board meeting, it does go to that perception. I'm hoping that the security issues that were raised last month have at least been addressed, even though they have not been completely resolved. Ms. Brandenberger asked that something be done starting the morning after the April board meeting. Thank you for that. Mr. Clough, you pretty much dismissed her out of hand. So I am curious, what has been done? Nothing as far as the Lincoln County Sheriff's Office can tell me. Nothing as far as the parents and community know. No note or call to be vigilant and to urge kids to use the buddy system. Nothing. Mr. Clough, you claimed at the last board meeting that the man, quote, saw where the cameras were and walked away backwards, end quote. Quote, that he shielded himself, end quote. Maybe nothing there, but who can say? Has the sheriff's office seen that tape?
I can't respond to public comment until we go to discussion.
Was there any follow-up? Are the known sexual offenders being watched? The sheriff's office has no knowledge of any in the area. There's not one listed. If the community doesn't know what's going on, they cannot watch. And I really don't think locking the kids out of the school is an adequate answer to this issue. I think it's going to be harder. It's going to be much harder in the present day for our kids to thrive.
Hey, time
Thank
up.
you for your time.
Okay, thank you, appreciate it. Okay, and we're gonna try to keep, we're not trying to be rude and cut you off, but we gotta have some order in here so everybody has a chance to talk.
Well, I shouldn't have introduced myself. That's what things.
Appreciate that. Okay, thank you. Next individual. Okay, it'll be me.
You guys, if you don't know me, my name is Michaela Eldridge. My husband and I take our kids in Corona this year. And we feel like this is home for us. My kids are the first ones in 4 generations to not go to Captain. And we left Captain for safety issues. There was issues that we brought up and they were not addressed and they were ignored. Personally, we want to be here. I want to be here. I'm looking at being a part of the school. We're super happy. But I feel like sometimes expectations are not met because they're not understood. So I'm going to speak for myself as a parent and give very clear-cut expectations when it comes to the safety issues of the school. Anytime student safety comes up, board, admin, I expect butts out of chairs. We're locked in. We're all on the same page here. And I feel like that's what happened to Captain. And I don't think they meant it. They're good people. But when I'm like, hey, I'm concerned about this, like eye contact, yes, ma'am, me too. We got it. I can't tell you how to run a school, but I will tell you the mistakes they made where the communication was horrendous. I don't know if high school got a letter. Elementary did get a letter from Miss Randa, and it was fantastic, and I appreciate it. As you move forward, I want to know. I don't care about a lot of things, 99% of things academically, in the sense of you don't love your teacher. I don't care. You won't always love your boss and move on. But this is the only issue that I'm super serious about, to the point where we pulled our kids out of Captain and we drive 50 miles one way to Corona. It's been the best decision we've ever made, but I hope, again, I don't have an opinion on how to fix it, but I hope you will be super diligent and extremely good at communicating with me as a parent on how to do it. And that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay, next. Lauren, this is.
Thank you, Vice President, members of the board. Thank you for letting me do this on Zoom. I had an LFC meeting today and presentation, the Electric Co-op Association, and got stuck in Albuquerque traffic. So I apologize for being late and not there in person. But I came directly to the board the day that the incident happened with my daughter. But it's obvious that there are security issues above and beyond that one incident. And I am looking forward to hear the proposals that are going to ensure that my two greatest assets, my daughter and my wife, are protected. So I look forward to hearing what the board proposals are, and I also look forward to swift action on those items. Thank you.
Thank you, Lauren. Thank you, Mr. Patterson. Sorry, I'm supposed to do very well. Okay, next.
Hey, I have my notes as well. Okay. I'm speaking tonight to call the school district to put in place resources for consistent practices and accountability for all. These resources include a student handbook as well as an updated school board handbook. These are for the protection for all of us, students, parents, educators, administrators, and yourself, the school board. The latest student handbook that is available to parents in the high school and students is from 2023 and 2024, online as well. There is not the elementary handbook. The most recent available school board handbook is dated 8/27/2014. I would like an updated handbook for both students and yourself. Within these handbooks, I am requesting disciplinary metrics that line out consistent practices that will hold all of us accountable. I am calling for accountability for our students. Children need to be held accountable for their actions. We need framework around this. The students are currently not being held accountable for their actions. We need defined matrix for the instigator, the victim, and all the bullying that occurs here. I am also calling for active early communication. Can a student expect a double negative discipline structure? That is a question for the board. I am also calling for an active early As a parent of a student in this school district, I have the right to have the access to these resources, and I should be able to locate these resources at ease when I am looking for them. When can I expect to have these updated? We are no longer a small town. These students these days have access to multiple resources and social media applications that no longer feed to Corona being treated as a small town school. We need to learn to be purpose, and we need boundaries, all of which will be provided with these boundaries and matrix that are currently lacking in this school system. I leave you with these three questions. I do not expect an answer today, but rather something for you to think about and discuss among yourself. Are all students being held to the same standard? Are all employees being held to the same standard? Is public Corona schools holding themselves to the same standard? Thank you.
Next.
Okay. Thank you, Vice Chair. Thank you, Superintendent and Board, for allowing me to have a comment. One thing, my name is Patrick Papka, I have a son and daughter in the one thing I just was curious about is how we go about notifying the family, I guess, or the parents of kids that are being interviewed in school. I know there's a situation in the school that's going on. I understand privacy policy, things like that, that we can't pass a lot of stuff around, but I don't like seeing my kids or my son, I'll be more specific, my son being interviewed in class or in with principal numerous times over a situation that has happened months ago. And we still don't even know what it's about, but my son continues to be interviewed in a private setting. And if nothing else, I would like to be able to be asked as a parent to be able to sit in on that conversation if I can. I think that'd be the least of it. Is I understand that you don't send, we did get a letter once here recently, but I would just like to see more communication on why that would be. I think every parent here would have the same consideration. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Next.
Yes, I'll just read an email that I had sent already, so you can kind of catch my concerns from it. Hello all. I took the time to listen to the last board meeting in its entirety, and I can't say that it was an easy listen for me. I've talked to most of the board about my concerns dealing with the issues of safety at school as been an accurate depiction of what is really going on is not being expressed to the board. Our school is the pinnacle of our community. It is the center that brings us all together. If there's one thing we can agree on is that we all want the best for our kids. I'm not here to judge anyone else's job or what they're getting done or not getting done. I do, however, feel that communication between the school and the board relies heavily on administrators, and I disagree with what was portrayed in the last meeting. To sit in those chairs and dictate that the school has no responsibility to keep kids or staff safe after school hours is absurd. Most every single day of the school year, we have children at our school after school hours for school-related events. To simply decide that the problem is that the staff doesn't have proper child care when a stranger approaches in a suspicious matter, a child, one of our own, while she is at school, at a school mandated meeting, is heartbreaking and a severe betrayal of our standards as a community and a school. This attitude is far from the school that I know and love. We'll be prepared to join our family. But this is not joining our family. It is my understanding that the board is looking seriously into fencing solution for the playground and school grounds. I appreciate that more than you know. As elementary students are playing, if we can just buy them a little time and a boundary to notice that someone is not in the right location, I think that will give them a fighting chance. It may not be feasible to ask for an armed guard who, like many teachers, can't be everywhere, but allowing students to have time to see and process potential scary circumstances, at least we can do. I just don't want to run out of time. So in closing, I would like to say that no person that is truly walking our hallways and seeing our kids and staff can say that we are completely thriving in the current state at our school.
Okay. Next.
Thanks, Aubrey, and thank you for allowing me to speak to the board. I guess the security issue is kind of on my mind right now. And you know, one of the issues is the school is in the middle of a man camp, just like Lowell. And there's all kinds of transient workers here. And that I'm not a fan of the wind is no secret, but that's what has happened. And so that being the case, then there has to be increased security for the school. You've got campers on both sides. You don't know who's here. And the other thing I'm upset about, I'm glad to hear that the elementary school was notified, but the high school students were not notified of the problem happened. And you just had, you know, an incident 2 years ago with a high school student, but you don't tell the parents or the high school students that there's an issue. And they're just as at risk. And the board person who said that the high school kids can take care of themselves is bullshit. And I think it's wrong. I'm wondering if there was an assembly call to talk about danger stranger with all the kids involved. You know, the other thing, an idea might be, since you can't hire somebody, I think there'd be volunteers to do parent patrol. I mean, it happens in Albuquerque, it happens in Roswell, and I think that might be a solution if you're so worried about, or we are all concerned about having people here watching the kids. Just on one side note, I'm still pretty cranky about having our granddaughter have insurance to come shoot baskets in the gym. It's not in the policy. I went through the policy again today. It talks about people using the facilities. There's no mention of insurance. No one else was required. And it looked like it was arbitrary and capricious for somebody to require her to shoot baskets in the gym. Thank you.
Thanks. You all have exceeded, if anyone else wants to speak, our 15 minutes. So before I ask the board to extend the 15 minutes, is there anyone else that would like to speak? And if you do, that's fine. Okay, I would like to ask the board, based on what was posted on the 15 minutes public comment time, do you all have any opposition in us extending that to, let's say, up to a threshold of an hour? Okay, including the 15 minutes we will have already incurred. Everyone in favor? Curtis, do I need a motion for that?
No.
Sorry.
You already
I
amended
never
the
had to
agenda.
do this situation, so I'm right.
You already amended it, so it's up to you. You can extend it beyond 15 minutes. 15 minutes.
So we're going to extend the public speaking time to a total of an hour. So Mrs. Mackin?
So obviously, I back everything that's been said. I support each one, and security, of course, is a huge issue, but it boils down to communication again. So this year, we had internal issues. We lost one of our coaches for junior high. I was not notified. I didn't know for 2 weeks or a week, I guess, before we got out and got back in, had a new coach. We are very worried about, of course, the outside influences on our campus, but also our children have been affected by the inside influences. And we didn't know about it. The incidences that have happened at our school have happened in-house with people who are employed here. So better background checks, things like that. What are the guidelines? What are the policies that we have in place to protect the coaches, the teachers, the parents, and the students? Like, I will not let my child play if I know there's an issue. I will not let my child sit in a classroom if there's an issue with that teacher, but I don't know. I've never been told. Still never been told. It's been through the grapevine that you hear things. So again, I think it just boils down to communication and maybe the policies that we have to back what a coach needs, what the players need, what the students and the teachers are expected to uphold through the school year. And so I would just like a look at those policies, and I think the handbook and things like have already been stated. Thank you.
I have a question. If we were cut short, can I finish my second thought?
How the board is, did you extend the time? It's up to you.
Go ahead. I was also informed of a situation that happened last week on campus where a senior brought a gun, an Orzo gun to school and was shooting underclassmen from the cafeteria down to the main building. I was told when that student was asked to put the gun away, he said, "No, I'm good." And he put it in his locker. When the administrator asked again, "Can I have it?" "Nah, I'm good." And the student was asked to leave campus, and that's how we handled a gun on campus.
Renee, an Orso gun?
It's like one of those BB type guns, those plastic.
Sorry. No, it's not an airsoft, it's an Orby gun. It's like little gel balls, it's like little gel balls that expand.
I would also state that this student is on a senior trip this week with a shooting incident.
I just want to say, yeah. Just to assure all of you that all of us here, and I think I can speak, I've been here for 7 years. And we all love your kids. You know, I think y'all need to know that too. And hear that from us. Because as far as I'm concerned, any of the other teachers here, they're all our kids. So just know that when they're at school. Teachers and staff. For the record.
I'd like to say something. We're new to this place. Here. Long time. The biggest question is the safety for kids. And there's lots of ways around this, you know, like volunteers to help with things. If you want the community to come together, I'm sure she said community work out with those things. kind of seems pretty simple to me. And this problem, I want to keep occurring. So that's all I got. But
We appreciate it.
Can I just say one more thing? too? Yes, one more thing. I know that you guys are all looking out for the best of the school, every single person in here. And I think that there is a lot of emphasis on building a new school, and I'm not saying that we don't need a new school. But my concerns are more like, let's make sure what's going on in the school is solid before we start adding more things on top of it. Even like, there's like a lot of great talk going on about new curriculums and things like that. And it's great talk and project-based learning, and I love it. But I'm a little concerned about spending a lot of money on some things when we don't have the manpower per se, and we need to fix some solid standards inside the school before we get so excited about building a school and then all of our kids leave because they're struggling at the school. I've just being a staff member, I love all the kids, even the incident with the Orbeez gun. I felt like it was handled the best it could have in this situation, but I understand as a parent being concerned. But I do think we really need to focus on what's going on in the school and make sure that there's policies to back up your coaches. There's policies to back up your teachers. There's things going, we really need to build that strength back because we don't have that. Everything's in disarray, and then we're getting new things thrown on top of it, and it's causing more chaos. And I'm afraid that the new school is another one of those things. And that's, sorry.
Yeah, thank you.
Why is there dog beds? It's a pretty simple thing.
That's a good question. I think, and if I may, this is just my opinion. I think that over the years, and someone can disagree with me, this has been a very open community family campus. Things have changed so rapidly in the last several years that, and this is just me talking, okay, this is Alina. I don't think that we've done a good job in recognizing the speed and the momentum of the change because of everything else going on. That's not an excuse. It's just, there's been a lot of different things going on. And we failed at that. But we need to, this is me talking. I do think that we need to expedite. However, I had a conversation with someone right after our last meeting, wanting the fence now. And I hear you, and I know there's some guys in here that could put it up like that. They probably even have the supplies at home. But we have to follow certain standards, being a public school. Unfortunately, all the red tape you have to go through. Of course, there's the costs that go with it, unfortunately. Yeah, we could put it up probably better, quicker, faster than the hoops we have to go through to get it done. But I know I did visit with Curtis several times since the last meeting. And I know he's been working on getting proposals, working on the criteria. We're going to discuss it again tonight so that we can try to get that done just as quickly as possible. The other thing, I hope it's okay that I share. You know, I know some of you in here work with Pattern.
I'm here, I wouldn't know that I am here as a parent of a student in the school, not as my employer.
And I understand that, but you also have to realize that, you know, with that, this is me speaking again, okay, and we've had this conversation. A lot of the issues, not all of them, okay, we also have multiple highways that intersect here. We're very much aware of that, and it's even if Pattern wasn't here, I think we need to get it fenced up. But it has, it heightened the issues that quickly affected us, if you will. That we need to move probably quicker than, we should have moved quicker than what we did. But as a result of that, we do feel that the facts that we are aware of, we feel is due to some of the traffic that is coming through here. As someone said earlier, this is like an oil field. I think that was Mr. Dunn. And so we have hit a pattern. We're going to get a report on that. And then helping in expediting and helping fund, because if we do the right kind of fence, I've gone out online and looked at the costs of the things that I have in mind. I don't know about the rest of the board, but I don't even want people to see through the fence. I don't want people to see what we're doing, so where the kids are, what we have, or how things are strategically aligned. Those are expensive. And so we're working on trying to get some support financially. Don't know what's going to happen there. And I know Curtis has been working on as quickly as he can on trying to get things moving so we can get one up. I would iterate to answer your question. Sorry, that's a long answer.
Down that way, most of the majority of the situations have been in-house pattern. I understand. There is a lot more people in this town. I get that. Once again, I am here as a member of the community. I've lived here longer than I've worked there. Love it or hate it, I don't care. That's what pays my bills.
Okay, well, I don't want to get in a discussion with pattern versus not pattern. Just sharing some of the issues that we've all seen, but not trying to hammer pattern, but thank you for your comment. All right.
And I have one comment to make. As a former business manager here, we never had the money to build a fence. We talked about it for years. We knew we had 4 different directions to get out of here. And it's never been safe. It's worse now, but we really looked into it. We talked to PSFA, we talked to the legislature, we talked to, and it just never came to fruition. I have spoke to Pattern, talked to my boss, as you know, I work as a community liaison, and they are looking into helping us put a fence up. So there is that. But it doesn't happen overnight, because as a school district, you have to go through the procurement process. You have to go through people. And it's never easy. It's so onerous. I wish we could just buy the material and put fence up. Because we've got enough people around here that build fence. It's not going to happen overnight. And I'm sorry. We just have to be diligent. Someone else have a question?
What about cameras? Somebody said that they're not working. Like, is that correct?
They are working.
Are they working?
When the installer put in the cameras, there are some issues with door contacts because the doors are old and the sensors are not working, so the doors will not secure. Okay, the cameras have worked. We have a company coming, working with doors. I'm gonna talk to the board tonight about one. I got other folks coming on door contacts. There are 6 doors that have been flagged by the fire marshal. They need to be majorly repaired or replaced. So it is causing issues with our door contacts. And we have 4 doors that don't close unless they're forced closed. So the issue at hand is this: we either have to replace the doors or do it. One of the companies that we are working with brought out a hinge specialist, so hopefully we don't have to replace all the 6 doors that were said. But they brought out a special one, and that's one of the quotes. We do have a quote on door replacements. What we did was do an a la carte menu of every exit door in the district that had a sensor on it. And that was done in process before this event even started. So that way the community is aware of that. Because our former contractor who put in walked away from the last part of closing out the job. The cameras were operational, but the doors were not. So it took me a month to go through the procurement process to make sure we could find a certified Verkada dealer. So it did not void our contract with the cameras and the doors to do that. They came in the week before spring break to do their assessment. They're starting to have 2 vendors. The problem is there's limited vendors that will work with us. I have 2 of them. The 3rd one wouldn't be able to get to us till October. So I've got the 2 that are currently operational that can get here in June to work on the doors. But again, I had to go through the replacement. I'll talk about that when we talk about what the board actions want to do to go forward. to give us quotes and everything, they did a complete assessment of the door. So that way, that's where we're at in the camera system and the doors. Okay,
You know, you lock down the school, that's great, but I didn't know it until my kid. So, or both, like, they came and told me about it. Never got a message, never, like, I think Hannah is who I talked to get that message that school had been locked down because of school. Like, I didn't know personally, like, nobody let me, so I don't know how that all works out over here.
Can I take this one?
Yeah.
So, as far as the doors being locked, is that what you're referring to?
I guess they said they were locked in their classroom.
I think she's talking about lockdown.
Then you did locked down.
Oh, okay, so not that the exterior doors are now,
Like their classroom.
oh. I guess you meant to, classroom doors have always been. It's up to the teachers to close them. The elementary was advised over 2 years ago. To keep their doors locked.
When we had a lockdown for George. Is there not a parent protocol that these parents should be alerted that we are on lockdown? I know.
We sent out a blast on the.
So that, I'm probably sure that's where that's coming from.
Yes, I mean, we do try to send out a blast, we're still, there's kinks in every system, we try to get it out as efficiently as possible. It doesn't always get to everyone. So do you all get the messages whenever, because now that we're talking about this, in the event, and I'm not sure that I'm speaking on every event, but I know, like my cell phone number and my home number are listed. So that when the IVR system sends out the automated messages that they set up to send out, whatever those may be, do you all get those? Yeah, so you might just get with the school, who would they need to get with?
Yeah.
Okay, make sure they have your contact information, on where you can readily be reached in the event that they send one of those out. We, honestly, we never know whether you get them or not, there's no like receipts. That's right, these people might.
I don't know, like, nothing against all of you. I know you probably sit here and listen to people, but when people are talking, like, if they were talking and your backs were turned or you weren't listening to them. And I feel like that's important as a board, and nothing against you, I know you're doing your best, but like, they're talking to you, so make eye contact with them, like, let them know, let us know that you're listening to it. I'm not as good. It sounds like you're very good.
That is very important, I agree.
Okay, I have a question about, are all angles covered, like, that our students are in, like basketball courts, playgrounds, pre-K playground, like all the little spots, are they covered?
Well, honestly, there's some hot spots that aren't covered and are common on
Yeah.
that.
Spot
Yeah,
where,
we've got them in all the common places that we thought and it's set up. But honestly, after this incident, we figured out that there's some blind spots, so we're working on it. Plus more telephoto lenses, yeah, better. Essential. And do those back like a drive or are they like have like a week?
No. We have up to 3 years to retrieve, depending on how we set up. And one of the things that is gonna be recommended, and I'm gonna tell the board tonight, and Cam Nate come on and did their site visit. There are no perimeter cameras watching for cars coming in and out of the area. We have no shots clearly until they are in the parking lot of license plates and people recognition. And there's gonna be a recommendation for 4 exterior post cameras on the corners of this lot. So we can get traffic going to and from and use the full capability of that system with facial recognition and license plates. When they put the cameras in, they got the campus secured, but when it was designed, there were no exterior watching roads to come in like a lot of those systems have.
So if the cameras are being worked on, this takes a period of however long to get pushed through. And all this goes on until the start of next year. What is the plan for security for next year? While we don't have the pencil of the cameras
So Curtis, why don't you go ahead and share what we've discussed thus far as short-term, immediate, because we are very concerned
Yeah.
and need it immediately. Based on the last meeting that we had. And I had some personal experiences myself, coincidentally that same week. So the timing of all of this is perfect. Not that we're having these issues, but Curtis, why don't you go ahead and share the plan?
Okay, I talked to Mrs. Brandenberger that night after the meeting, as well as a couple of the board members. Robbie wasn't here that month. So the following morning, I immediately contacted the Lincoln County Sheriff's Department and Thompson Associates, which is our risk and safety assessment crew for our insurance, which is required by PED for us to do anything security-wise in the state. So I immediately contacted them, and Sergeant Joe Bailey came out on the following Tuesday after the board meeting to do their complete safety assessment. We are still waiting for the report from Lincoln County on the safety assessment report that occurred at that time. They did a complete internal and external evaluation of our facilities, because it's not just the fence that we have security issues with. I'll just lay another point down. There is not a set of master keys for this district if we have an incident that law enforcement can get to. So they did a complete safety assessment. So it's not just the fence that they're looking at. They're looking at all safety, access, egress points, and everything else. Thompson Associate came out and did their risk assessment last Monday. I should have that report hopefully by the end of this week. James Vadier and Albert Muniz, who's the two that did it, were working very hard to do it, but they also are in the process of doing risk assessments this time of year for our insurance. They usually occur March, April, May, or August, September, October for all districts that are required by state law. They moved to ours from October to May, knowing our situation. So we are waiting for them to submit their complete risk assessment as well with this. We're going to have two of the requirements that we have for procurement that we've done, the needs analysis, needs assessment for the district. And there's going to be some recommendations made in those plans going forward. And I've also contacted two fence companies. One's got their quote in tonight that we'll talk about. The other one's going to have it to me hopefully by the end of this week, that can look at the door situation and do that. But CamNet, our camera person and door sensor person, is scheduled to come out here the week of June 13th to get all the work, because we may have to bring this to the board meeting on the 11th to get it approved, because it's over the $60,000 threshold. I'm allowed to approve in the district for the district, so the board would have to approve that work going forward. So that's the schedule right now of what is happening. We're waiting to see the assessment, because there are also fire code issues by Palms and our fire marshal that we have to address for egress, because some of our sidewalks may not meet code if we ever have anybody in a wheelchair and like that. So this is the complete safety risk fire assessment for the district by those two entities to let us know what has to be done, because it's not just about a fence. It's about everything, doors, locks. So if we do have an incident, we're able to respond and keep the kids safe. So once we get those reports back, I've had initial conversations with Cody, and I talked to Elena today about us maybe having to schedule a special board meeting even before the 11th to go through these proposals so they can get fully informed and make sure what's going on. But the target is, and I've told all the contractors and everybody else, that the June 11th board meeting has to be the drop dead date, so we can get this work scheduled over the summer. And we're crossing fiscal year, so part of it can be done on this year and part of it on next year because of the way our budget falls.
I have a question on that.
Plan.
How are students gonna have access to the building?
One moment, please. Yeah.
So there's nothing in place for the meantime. I haven't been seeing cameras.
We have cameras, and we're watching them periodically through the day to watch. The door sensors are not working properly. The cameras are working. That's how we found some of the dead spots that are going on. And by the assessment that was done by Palms and law enforcement, was the external corner post cameras that don't show vehicles coming in and out, is something that is missing in our system to make sure we can track vehicles and know what's going on.
I think the point I'm trying to make is if the fence gets pushed back, or the security gets pushed back, and this doesn't happen, it's not ready by the beginning of next year, what is gonna happen to provide some security? Is there any plan, or is it just gonna go, oh, shoot, hope so? I mean,
So, I'm gonna share this a little bit,
Yeah.
okay, because I hear you all, and with your concern. You know I sat in here at the last meeting and I know I was pushing pretty hard in terms of, okay, what is tomorrow? Not in another few months, what is tomorrow? We've got these issues, what is gonna look like in the morning when we all get here? And so my understanding is what we did the next day, of course, there was a field trip, which, was good, to give everybody a little bit of thinking time, and getting the littles, off, but there were still other students here, staff, teachers, so on and so forth. So that is when we started locking, that's what I thought you were initially talking about, that was me. In locking the doors, I wanted all the doors locked, we don't have a fence. We're having issues with mag locks and the way that the doors were designed based on the system. Which I dealt with the same at the electric co-op when I was there. Sometimes those can be a little finicky, so I get it, it happens. But in the meantime, and that was basically what we had discussed, let's lock the door. I would rather people not be able to get in at all, and the ones that are allowed to get in to be given the permission, than leaving those suckers wide open. My other issue was, you guys that watch the recording, is we don't have the people, the staff, and the way the school is designed, unfortunately, we didn't used to have these issues where people can see the front doors. And we don't have somebody, I've retired from the co-op and I told them, I'll move a desk here and I'll watch the front doors. And so that's another issue that I have, and that's why the doors were locked. The cameras do work. And also the agreement that we signed is, with the service, we also have another service, correct me if I'm wrong, it should still be enforced. Is there's the co-op, I'm familiar with it because we use the same. It's a facility that they have people sitting behind the desk watching those students. They're supposed to be, I guess I would like some more information on that, in why they didn't see the individual, based on the incident that occurred that one day, so we can talk about that later. But that's just to kind of give you a little bit of information. Oh, and the other thing that we put in place is, the administration, throughout the day, until we can get our fence, in addition to locking the doors and watching the cameras, they're working the perimeter of the school to make sure that there's nothing that looks suspicious.
And Elena, it's not just that teachers are covering playground duties and everything else. We have tried to have adults out there at various times of day to make sure that they're being supervised. And we've tried to get 2 people out there at all times.
Thank you. I'll take it a step further. I had a conversation with Patterson, but he doesn't mind, I won't share the details. And he had a conversation with some of the Lincoln County folks. So we actually have tonight, you probably saw it on the agenda. We have a draft letter to the Lincoln County commissioners. And we're going to be having some additional conversations and then making sure that they're budgeting the necessary monies to protect not only Corona, but all the rest of the schools in Lincoln County also. I don't think that it is necessarily the school responsibility, this is me talking, that we need to build into our budget, armed security guards. I looked at that with the co-op and we had some situations. It is crazy expensive. And I know, I'm not saying that there's a price tag on our kids' safety. I'm not saying that. But we've got to try to figure out how to, in addition to the fence, even after the fence goes in, this is my opinion, we still got to have somebody patrolling our premises with everything that's going on. So those are some of the things that we have been working on and we plan to continue to work on, just to let the parents and the teachers, I don't know what everybody has heard, but that's just my 2 cents. It's very important to me also.
Oh, Linda, I think what you just said, you don't know what everybody's heard. A lot of people in this room mentioned that the communication is very important. So that needs to be addressed. We shouldn't be having to hear that there was somebody potentially stalking one of our children by way of the grade.
That's the personal life.
Exactly. I talked to somebody today that had heard a word about it. She has kids in there. I've heard words. And I would like to also say too, since we get a little bit more extra time, I really would encourage the administration to reach out to the sheriff's department and get them more of a, to be more of a presence here. Come in and talk to the kids about stranger danger or the community. If this community of this man or whatever it was referred to, knows that we're watching as a community and as parents and as teachers, and that the kids are aware of stuff like that, they're gonna be less likely. That's back to communication.
Well, I'm gonna respond to that. We just got notified, what was it, Monday this week, that Officer Preston and Officer Gordon are the ones that'll be walking our hallways. They've been in the last couple of days. It may not be every day, but this week they've actually got their full deputized staff back, and they're doing it for us and Hondo out in row. So we did have Officer Preston in here today. It's gonna be different times of the day, so they're not consistent, but they're gonna try to spend at least 2 hours around our campus hall, and that just started.
To know this though.
I just found out about it today when Officer Preston walked in.
But you knew about this incident, you wasn't before, that's what I'm going back.
And one thing, I agree with you, Robin, or Mrs. Dunn, but one thing that I know you do have to be careful of is mayhem. In what you do need to release information, but you have to be careful how you release it because you don't want, everyone swarming the school, putting yourselves and everyone else in harm's way. The other thing is with these officers, you have to let folks know that it's a process that we're going to be doing. But in the event that you don't want everyone to know, should there be someone trying to find or someone that it might be a deterrent to not come that day if they know they're going to be here. So we need to share that we're going to be starting this so that parents, teachers, staff, and the students especially, because these small town kids, you see a sheriff walking around. I know, my kids are like, my gosh, what did somebody do? And so, yeah, the communication needs to be there, but I don't know that we can share exactly precisely. Right. Just wanted to share that. Okay.
Ms. Bramer, I was gonna say one more thing and then we're gonna go put our baby to bed. For
That
your
baby?
Listen, he's more cranky than William. This is just me talking personally from a biblical standpoint. You cannot comprehend the amount of grace that I have for our school, our board, our admin, for the fact that this entire community has been flipped on its head. You were not prepared for that. You had Aubrey Eldridge come to school here, you had Joelle, that's what you had here, and now we don't. But the measure of this school, board, admin, and our community is going to be our ability to pivot. And just know that everyone came up here, they all have a lot of thoughts and we all have a lot of opinions, but this is where I want my kids, because I think that the character of the people here is higher than anywhere else. I don't think my kid could find a better teacher than Crystal Bell and Casey Patterson in any state, in any school. But it's the ability to pivot. And so there's a lot of grace from me as a parent, and I'm supporting you. And again, with the communication with Captain, it quickly became us versus you. Us, the grouchy parents, and then the board, the school trying to protect itself. Please don't feel like you ever need to protect yourself from my family. We want to be here and we have so much love. We're ready to pray, help, support. We just need changes. And she said it and I about stood up, but she was like, everything in house. The Bible verse for that is the wise man built his house on the rock. Deal with the house first. Raise your kids first. And we need to take care of stuff in house. But like I said, this is not, and please don't ever feel like this is coming from a place of we're mad. Get your crap together. It is, let's pivot as a community. Let's all work through this insanity. I mean, we live on the dirt road with the wind farm. We got you. It's craziness. But let's pivot and let's just do better. Take a deep breath. It's okay. Let's fix this as it's through. Okay. Amen.
Well said. Yes. Thank you. Yes, Mrs. Elton.
Yes, thank you guys.
Make sure you set his alarm.
And we appreciate all of attending. Yes. Okay, I'm on it. All right, thank you. Mrs. Patterson.
Just a small, we're trying to get better and move on from this experience. And I take full responsibility that my child was unattended. And that's not why we're here. But you look back at something, you're like, man, maybe we could have done something better. Here's one thought. God forbid this happens again. But I think that maybe KK should have been interviewed, and I think that maybe Mr. Wilson should have been interviewed because he laid eyes on that man. And KK knew who he was. And that upsets me that wasn't documented, because what if that man comes back? Don't you think we should know, maybe? Because then we are better equipped to take action.
I'm gonna ask a question, and we probably can't share names in this particular setting, but we know who the gentleman was.
No, but I.
Identify him.
Identify. I think that if that parent would have been brought in and KK would have been brought in and said, well, what color hair did he have? What did he look like? I mean, Terrell knew what he was looking at. And I showed KK a picture the next day of the gentleman who got out of no gap. And she right away said to me, yeah, that's not him. And I appreciate the principal went and she did check on him that next day. But I think we need to document, what did he look like? Because what if he comes back? We got to do better to protect our babies. That's what I'm saying.
Thank you, Mrs.
So I still have my question. I still have my question. On top of that, because these children do walk from building to building, correct? During the school day. How are they going to get in these buildings instead of standing outside beating on the door? I have witnessed it. I've seen females, if we're talking about sex offenders. I've seen females stand right outside. Sex offenders sometimes are not sexist. They go after men too. How are we going to protect our children when they're standing outside the door? We have elementary kids that walk from the elementary school to the high school at the end of the day. Do they stand outside? Who's watching them? Are they escorted? We have kids coming from up from Ad. Are they escorted down by a teacher? We have kids coming up down from the cafeteria. Are they being escorted all at once?
Yes, they are.
I've seen the elementary school, yes, but our high school kids being walked down together as a group. In the past, before this situation, I've seen them straddle down. As they finish, they come down at their will. Is there somebody with them all the time? It doesn't matter if it's a man or a woman. Our kids are our kids and we need to protect them. They don't need to stand outside and knock on the door.
Yes.
Hi. So I'm going to kind of pivot just a little bit on stuff. Yes, safety is a huge concern. I echo exactly what Michaela said. We left Capitan for that exact reason. But some of my concerns fall more with policy. I know some of you in the room, and actually it may clarify some things for Mr. Pakta on some stuff. But I had to do something I didn't realize what I was doing at the time, to be real honest. There was a situation took place that I felt like could have been handled in a whole lot easier manner than it ended up being handled. It was not near a big a deal as it has been made out to be. But it was simply something that just needed to be told to certain individuals. This is not how we behave. This is not what we do. They needed to be kind of humiliated, if you will. They needed to be told to give apologies to certain individuals. And that would have sufficed for me, but nothing was done. And I was told that we needed to go through this channel in order for something to be done. And so I don't know, because I don't know policies, procedures at Corona. but I know that that should not have had to escalate to the point that it did. And so I just ask, I'm going to kind of echo what Renee said a little bit about handbook. Let's have some things in place. And I know policy is a board thing, and making policy. And so I just ask from the board that we make sure we have some policies in place so parents like me don't have to go above and beyond and have to do things and fill out paperwork that I really, in hindsight, probably should not have filled out when it could have been taken care of with a simple butt chewing. That, and then the other question, and this is just I have kind of heard some rumor that some things might change as far as 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, maybe kind of having a junior high, doing some different things. Could we be, and I know with hiring and not knowing who you have and all that, but once that is all decided, could we as parents be informed as to what's exactly going to happen? Because I will have a kid in 6th grade, and I just kind of would like to know moving forward how that's going to look next year. And that's all.
Thank you, Mrs. Gutierrez.
Question. Many of you know, I'm a registered lobbyist for the Mexico County Doors. I have quite a bit of experience raising money through the legislative channels. If we started working today, it will be July of next year before the money's ever available in school. But I also know if we don't start working today, we're low on the totem pole. We're last on the list. I would be glad to talk to Harlan Vincent, our representative, as he's not only a friend, but he also sits on the Legislative Finance Council. We have to work through him to get you.
That's wrong.
And
I'm only gonna
with his junior monies also, which he can put wherever he so chooses. But if we don't get on that list quickly, we don't have that number we need to hand him quickly, we will not get it for a whole another year and a half. So please keep that in mind as you make your plan and proceed.
What's the deadline? Or what's the?
It's for next
Well,
session. The intersection this summer is when they do it, like Lauren works out. LFC and LESC does all their work in intercession, getting the budget ready, so when they go out the next session. And Lauren, I've already got a meeting set up with Harlan, me and the other superintendents. He wants to make some of these priorities, so we're meeting the first week of June. I met with him yesterday at LFC, Mr. Mascaro. I'd be happy to have you be involved in those conversations because I know what he's looking at is a piece of legislation specifically for first responders, first medical, law enforcement, teachers in rural areas to use that excess fund. And he has a bill that was presented to him by our superintendents in this county at the end of session. We just didn't get in there early enough to get it considered. But we can have that conversation. I met with Harlan yesterday. He's going to come to our district, or we're going to meet in Carrizosa that first week of June to discuss those
well,
monies.
there's ways to get things funded.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's why we needed early communication.
Yeah.
And you're more than welcome to share the incident that happened to my child. Because more than anything, I don't want another family to go through what we did. Although it absolutely nothing happened in regards to well-being of my child. But the potential was horrifying, especially as a father who's 6'4", 200 pounds, and she thinks I can do anything. It's very hard on me as a father.
Has there been consideration with the village to coordinate maybe, because I know this is a weird property. the fence is gonna be a nightmare, whatever it is, because it's weird, there's cement, there's concrete, there's buildings, there's streets. So have we coordinated with the village? Maybe it's not on school property, maybe it's on village property where you push it out a little bit further, but it's on the border and but it's still doable, like. Is that an option that we can look at to maybe expedite or work
It's
together?
prepared in some respects.
Yeah. So just something, I mean, just to be productive, maybe we can talk to the village about their property, their goal. We might be able to move faster on it.
Thank you for that. We appreciate the comments and the questions. I believe, I don't want to shut anybody off, but I do want to go ahead and move forward. I think we've had a good conversation, good ideas, and I appreciate, I do the full board, staff, myself, I appreciate you all. It goes to say, like Mrs. Eldridge was sharing earlier, we're a family. And this just goes to prove you all care. And this is the only way that we know in many cases when there's really issues is when we definitely have some issues. And I think we're all on the same page. There's different approaches, different ways to handle. We're going to work on this just as quickly as we can. Yes, ma'am.
We have been working for months on policy updates. We left here last meeting at 9:30 because we're going over policy. The entire policy for staff, students, everything. But we have to have readings. We have a first reading, we have a second reading, and then we adopt. So we should be done this meeting.
June, what's the final readings? June will be the final for approval.
Should that go for the first meeting? Because I could be for next year. Because I mean, this is my second. The first time was back in 2014, so. Yeah, we're working on it.
Last thing, everybody's talking about the emergency alert situation. How about a scheduled emergency alert drill? Just like the radio, if this was an actual emergency, blah, blah, blah. You might consider one of those specific, especially early next year.
We are onboarding the rate panic button for that, Lauren. We're the next district to get it launched and our training will be in July for that. And that will be all parents will send out notifications, but it's going to be very important in that you have all your right contact information there. So if you change cell phones and like that, please notify the office because it only works as good as the data that's in that data system to send the calls out. So when you register your kid in the fall, make sure if there's any changes of address, cell phones like that. If you change during the year, Rave is working on you to register your new number through that, which is a new twist to that because in the past we had to manually put it in. Now you might be able to input any new information in there. So
another thing,
yeah,
if it could be coordinated with Village Hall, like we get notifications, the water system's gonna be shut off, blah, blah, blah. I don't know if you guys can coordinate that and send it out on both lanes.
that's a good question, Lauren. I don't know if Ray can communicate to that, but we might be able to communicate from our website out to them to have it go.
River has a green truck parked in front of the tower like that. You could move it. They won't. Yeah.
But say something really quick.
Any more questions? Yes.
This is just a statement. I do know that after the incident, Randa did have a meeting with the elementary kids about the buddy system. And I also know that Principal Dunlap did send home letters on it to the elementary kids. I know a lot of these parents might be high school kids, so I just there was steps taken, and maybe if you weren't in the school, you didn't realize it as much, but there was steps taken as well as with the Orbeez and Orby gun, there was steps taken. So there was things, although I have my concerns as well, but there was things done properly that I think were done, and especially in the elementary, they really wanted to make those kids aware. still to this day, those kids are like, buddy system, like when they leave if they think they gotta leave to go hold doors, buddy system, we have to do this, and it's, so I don't wanna just make it seem like nobody's watching the kids, because I'm one of them. Like, I swear I'm watching your kids too, you know what I mean? So.
With another, last comment.
Yeah, and this is just a question actually just for who I contact or notify, but it's no secret that we work with a lot of things on the wind farm, but on the funding for this is, so we've been asked, we work with a lot of different subcontractors on the wind farm, and those guys, I'm not discrediting what Pattern does, but there's a kind of a touchy relationship between subcontractors and Pattern and Ladder and all that. So, but the subcontractors actually have asked me, we've done some other work on through the men's home, things like that as far as funding, because they do a lot of community development, things like that. But they don't shuffle that money through Pattern. But there's some smaller monies available through those. And I just wanted to ask, if I put all that together, who do I contact about? Would it just be? Okay.
Right, so, you can send that to us and we can coordinate the efforts, because I did talk to Jeremy about this stuff through Pattern and how to coordinate it, and we did talk a little bit about subcontractors and their different pool. But I'm glad you brought this up, Patrick, because I wasn't familiar with that. Coming up here and knowing that, you can send that information to Vicky and I to coordinate with the board, because there are certain things we have to do. If they want to designate it for a certain purpose, the board has to accept that donation, but they just give a general donation. Let's say your subpantry XYZ Ladder wants to give $50,000 in security. The board has to act on that so we can budget it inside. If it was just a general donation for student activities or to the school's hold to be determined, that doesn't have to go through a board action. But I want to make sure we follow that and we get it designated in the right, because that can, as Barb will tell you, if you get too many donations and you're basically supplanting the funds you get from the state, it could impact us in the future with future funding. Okay. Especially with PSFA, if we're going for whatever with them, that could impact what we can get from them ultimately to do projects. So I just want to make sure for you guys, if you're doing that, get it to Vicky and I will make sure we're following. It's addressed in the new policies they're coming with. But we will have to recognize it, send them a letter, recognize it so that we're in compliance with everything with those funds. And the auditor will nail us for it, because it happened to me in Cliff when I was at Silver School.
Well, thank you all for coming. Sincerely. Appreciate hearing from each of you. We're gonna go ahead and all are more than welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting. Or if you so choose and you want to get up and leave, we won't be offended if you go ahead and leave. That's up to you. But with that said, and thank you all online. We appreciate your attendance and your comments. We're going to go ahead and go through the agenda, and I'm going to ask for an approval of the minutes from the April regular board meeting. Minutes from the April regular board meeting. Okay, all those in favor, is there any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Thank you. Next item, payroll and bills. Any questions? I have some.
Hey, Marie, you ready?
I do. Pardon? On the months orders that's printed out, there's a Mark Gonzalez, it says tax. I know it's not a lot. What was that?
That's for our buses, but
I need a better description. Than that. It's on the purchase order report for 4-1. Yeah, big, it's,
Yeah, big.
yeah, it's
I'll look at that. Well, we're
And-
collaborating still.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm thinking that's a line item
Yeah.
of the purchase order that hasn't been zeroed out. I'll look at it, but yes,
And then the Institute for Safe Age.
multi-sensory.
Multi-sensory education, what is that?
Yes,
That
that
is. So the asbestos testing, original media. Or no, CES was asbestos testing, what we're testing on, what on the.
They can do it for the teachers and we're gonna get refunded for it once we get it. This is all, we're starting the process. I'm going to have the update later. We're starting that process to get that, but we had to have the asbestos test done, so we'll get that reimbursed from PSFA as that's going through the process.
And what was our legal line in the Doritos paper?
That was for the demolition promotion for the teachers to demo. We're required by procurement to post it.
I have a question for my. The check that was cut to the village of Bruni for close to $5,800, is that normally per month what that runs?
You want to get into that a little bit, Hannah and Vicky, about what happened to Bill? We got double billed a couple months with duplicate bills. And they're.
You wanna go? Oh, you want me to? Okay. During transition, we realized that there's been people that have been paid, so we've been playing a lot of catch up. The past 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Since Vicky's come on board, we have been playing catch up after catch up. There's been,
This would have been through the end of April.
Yeah.
yeah. And so it's been a lot of just, March didn't get paid, things like that. And so.
Okay, but it's accurate.
Yes. And I can say that there.
I'm good.
Okay.
Thank you. Well, just on that same note, I asked about that several months ago. But I think a big part of it is that the buildings are so old.
Yeah.
And they're just, our heating system, everything's just breaking down, so our bills are horrendous.
And Barb, that also, not to interrupt you, but though it's also the time we had the water break down at Teach-Ridge and up there, so that could be part of that issue too, with the volume. That finally got caught up to us in the rears, but if you look at the sinkhole in the backyard, that's been completely shut off since that occurred, and they came in and fixed the line to the rock building during that time, so that could be the excess water that those two broken lines do. Barb.
Another CES field for the records management, individual school records, when did we start?
We already started,
Already
it's
started.
in process.
So is it for the entire year or is it just for now going forward?
This is for this year through end of June, doing all student personnel and financial.
July 1?
No, we're doing it right now.
No, that's what I mean, but are you
Yeah.
going back and getting the records from July 1 coming forward? Or are we just starting now? So they're going back there.
Yeah, we're doing all of it.
So. And is that, I know it's like what, $27,000, is
Yeah.
that? new? It's
No.
37. Okay.
No, it's one time fee to do it, then we have to pay a records management on the system, that's a lot less. But because we have records dating back as far as 1957 in some of our stores, we gotta follow records destruction rules and like that, so we're doing, it's gonna be a two-phase part, so there's gonna be a smaller part of this next year that we'll be doing to get caught up on all of it, but this is all student records, employee records, financial records that are in this building special ed is the first part, and then we'll do the whole financial piece starting July 1. There's gonna be another quote that'll be coming for them, it's gonna be a lot less than that, because we got 84 boxes out right now doing it.
Are you
So
shipping those or are they coming here and doing it on site?
we had to ship them, but they're gonna be coming back on site here next week.
Did we have documentation of what we shipped?
Yes.
And then are they destroying those after a period of time or then what happens to them?
They photocopy them on and put the filing system online for us to be able to access them, so they'll do the financial tree, the student records tree, HR tree, and all those that are on there online, so they'll be stored in the cloud. And then the paper records will be stored for a period of time to make sure it works.
Right.
Make sure everything's in place and everything else, so it's up to a year that we have with them to store those records.
Oh.
So they will store them in their warehouse, once we make sure we have everything correct. And then they will destroy all the records they don't have to scan and do all the public notices. I don't say public notices, but all the procedures and notify the auditor's office and the attorney general that have done all that. So they're handling all that part for the district.
Sorry to keep asking questions, but so they're storing our records for a year and they're where?
Not, we can have up to a year. It doesn't have to store them for a year.
But they're storing them.
Yeah, right now when they're scanned, we have to determine that, yeah, what's going on, but they have a separate isolated warehouse for us that we could get access to the paper records, or we could choose to bring them back on site. There's gonna be a lot of records that are destroyed because of some of our old student records like that gonna be there, they're not gonna be there, so it's not gonna be 84 boxes of records they store. So we're looking at, we're not to that point yet, Elena, to give you a good educated answer of what's gonna happen with those records yet until they get everything done.
I guess my issue is, I didn't even allow, when I was at Central and we did, with our records management plan, once a week, Shred-it would come
Yeah,
and they wanted to take our records off site to destroy them. And we paid a little bit more, but I was not okay with that. We had people actually go out and destroy those records, and it's confetti. That's where you're supposed to destroy records, it's confetti. I didn't want our records going off site because then I lost control of those records. I guess just take that for whatever it's worth. And are we comfortable with another entity storing our records?
well, what's probably gonna wind up happening is we do have the right for the shred when they do it, they'll put them in the boxes. And you can contract with them to do it, and we could be up on site when that happens, that's part of the agreement of that, and we can bring those
That's
records back and
perfect.
store. Yeah. So we do have to write the superintendent that these records are being destroyed and report them.
But the ones that they're storing, I guess that's my concern.
If we don't have to store them there early. Okay, we have up to a year to store them there if we
And I
want
know
to.
we don't have to.
Yeah.
But it like that was something that you were considering, and I guess I don't know about everybody else, but that's just, okay, thank you, sir. Move to approve payroll. I actually, sorry, these are similar, Vicky. And Marie, to the ones I had prior. So when you look at the reports, the bar and the, and I can bring my iPad up if you want me to show you exactly which reports, but the bar graphs that show, well, before I go there, the total revenues budgeted versus the total expenses budgeted. And I guess this is just my finance hat in me. I still don't understand why the expenses are close to 2 million for the year, for the fiscal year, beyond what the revenues were. I just don't understand why you would build something like that where they don't at least equal and the revenues be just a little, maybe a smidgen more. So I guess that's still my question, and not to put anybody on the spot, but if you all could look into that and have a response for the next meeting.
Absolutely.
So that's a question.
Yes,
ahead, Marie.
I'm sorry. No, I was just saying, absolutely. We'll actually probably have an answer for that next week when we do the budget presentation.
Perfect. Okay, thank you, Marie. And then this was also a question I had at our last meeting, and I checked it again in these reports, just to make sure I wasn't missing something. And when you look, pardon me, at the bar graphs that show, they're the yellow and the gray, when they show the fiscal year prior, the fiscal year current, and it shows the year to date, the cumulative. And you have two different charts that I think are supposed to be related, but they're off materially. And if you need those specific charts, I can get those for you. But I don't understand why those aren't in agreement. 1 year is, take that back. 1 year is in agreement, 2023, 2024, but 2024, 2025 is not. The monthly does not agree with the cumulative.
I'm gonna make a disclaimer. I'm sorry, Marie, but these are not my graphs and I'm not, this is not my.
I was referring to Marie. Yeah, you're good, Vicky.
No, no, I get it. I get what you're saying. No worries. I guess which page are you on? Let me just ask that. So I'm on the same graph as you.
It's page 6. It's where you have the month to month comparison.
Okay, that's not my page 6, but okay.
It's the one that's page 6 of the documents you sent us. The packet of 15 pages.
Okay. I don't think I'm on the same page as you. I sent you a packet. I thought I sent you a package with 25 pages. No?
You sent us like 4 attachments. I don't have my email pulled up right now, but one of the first packets that you attached only had 15 pages, and there's red page numbers in the top corner that
Right.
say 1 of 15, 2 of 15. That's the one that has the graph, and it's labeled as page 6, I believe. I think that's what I said. Yeah.
Marie, it's the first packet that says Corona Public Schools Financial Update, May 14th. That's only 15 pages.
There's other attachments, but they're not all in one document.
Yeah.
Sorry. Sorry.
And then, just so.
Elena, I'm gonna have to get back with you on that. I'm sorry. I think I'm on the wrong page. I really do. So I'm not looking at the
don't wanna
right
hold
page.
up that would be fine. Thank you, Marie. The next question is something to consider. I appreciate it. We haven't seen that historically. And, you know, this is, Vicky probably has a good handle on this. I don't know, 'cause I don't recall what goes on our checks as far as how many days they're voided if they're not processed, by the individual that they were written to, but I noticed we had some older, you're on it. Okay.
Yes. Yes.
We did notice that, as I don't
So
notice that
I
as
guess,
well.
Marie, we need to, I guess, publicly ask that that it needs to
Void
be addressed before the end of the close of the fiscal year.
That's exactly right. We need to address them. Yeah.
Did we get the signage fixed? Yes. That's on the check software checks.
We have not got confirmation from Brian, from them that they have done it.
We have requested it
Yeah, multiple times.
multiple times. We
So we will
requested
do
from
it.
Brian last week again that the signature be corrected on the check stock.
Okay, I'll get with him. That's something he can do, only him.
Right, I know
Yep.
that. That's why we requested it specifically of him. Yes.
They kept flying.
Okay, unless, do any other have questions before we move on? Okay, and so, you need a motion to approve payroll bills. Second, any discussion, further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All right, next we have bars. Boy, people are dropping like flies.
You'll be with stuff all.
Okay, bars,
Maria, can you explain the bars?
I'm sorry, as far as I know, we just have that one transfer bar that wasn't approved at the last board meeting. And then we also are requesting, and I'll put a caveat on this, Vicky and I have been talking at least at least daily. And as we move towards the end of the fiscal year, there will be a need for bars to get the accounts in order. And so we're requesting that we have a blanket bar approval, but with that, Vicky will approve any bar that we submit.
Let me fill in yeah.
Thank you.
So, as I said last month, there's a lot of line items that are in the negative. There's functions, and we cannot be in the negative at quarter or at close. So, what we're asking for is that we have permission to make those moves and bring them back to your June meeting so that you're fully aware, but
right.
No bars will be approved without me going through them as well and making sure, and that we're working together very closely to ensure those functions are positive, because we will get a fine fee. Yes, if we're not positive on those functions.
I have a question. Are they just inter budget or are we gonna have to do something?
We shouldn't have to do any inter. I believe we have enough funding. I didn't see anything, Marie, tell me if I'm wrong, but I had not seen any of our accounts that looked like they had to have transfers between them, any of our funds. I think
I haven't seen that either. We just need to
it's
transfer
all within the
between
fund, it's just the
functions.
functions, just it is, it's just an it.
Yeah, and this is for audience, for intra budget, within the budget, you can just get board approval. But if you have to move between functions that don't normally get monies moved between them, you have to get heads. And that's a process. We're at the end of the year, so
We need to get it cleaned up.
yeah.
So, and then the first bar that Marie talked about, that's the wind farm funds. And that's just to bring those functions out of the negative. There's plenty of money there. There's just, they weren't budgeted to the right line.
I move to approve the blanket bar to clean up the budget for fiscal year 24-25. And I move to approve bar 28T, a transfer bar for uniform projects.
Okay.
Okay, any discussion? Okay, seeing none. We'll take a motion or take a voting of the board. Aye. Next on the is the principal's report. So again, sorry, you didn't have a written report. It's been a bit of a rat race, but we have completed all of our unit state testing. That's called the Demoscene test, and all students have taken it. We've taken the state science test in grades 5 and 8, since we have 11 graders or 11 graders. We don't have to do a SAT or SAT school day either because no 11th graders. So that testing has all been completed. Our interim end of the year testing is in process. Elementary just finished up today. High school test is next week, as well as most of our high schools next week taking IQ Placer to place them into college level courses if they so choose. So that's as far as testing goes. Our student numbers have dropped a little bit. We've had some wind farm families move out, so we're down to 98 students. So we saw that giant increase, and now we're back down to just below 100. So with other students projected to move in prior to the start of the school year next year. So that's what we're looking at with that. That's a question. What are you all hearing in terms of the movement with the in and the out?
The next batch from our last conversation is looking at coming in July for the end of phase 2, beginning of phase 3. It could be anywhere. I mean, when you talk to the people that we know, they do their best guess. They're talking possibly 30, 40 students, but if it goes by the past numbers, take about a quarter of it, you're probably looking at 10 additional. I mean, that's usually how it's worked out. They always project high. And what we've learned in looking, when we did our projections, it's usually about a quarter of what they project, because the families don't always all bring out their kids. It's about 25% of them come with.
Thank you. Sorry.
Nope, you're good. Waiting to see what happens with that. And then we'll go from there. So, just try to be diligent in everything that we come across and any questions.
Oh, gosh, child fine? Did you have child fine?
We did. That's did we find you? A few. So we only have 3 in the pre-K program right now, so from 8 to 3 years. So kindergarten registration would be pretty sweet, considering we're graduating 12. However, we had, I believe it was 4, off the top of my head, I think it's 4 4-year-olds, and then there was like another 5. So our pre-K program, they again includes 3 and different, but we did have a few come in, not very many wind farm families, mostly more locals, but we did advertise, we sent some things out to all, or at least to RV Park and then to Rachel's RV Park. I sent some stuff to that, slew of trailers out there at the transmission line. But I think there were so many families in transit about that time, April 17th. There were so many families in transit. Because even our locals that were in school, that was right around spring break, where some of them were still out of time with families and doing this. So that may potentially.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions? Any additional questions? Thank you. Okay, now we're down to action items. Before we get into policies, we have a few other items to discuss. So discussion and possible action on school security priorities and procedures.
We're getting more like to proceed with board. I think we need to look at that letter going to the county, that we presented at the October board meeting for review in doing it. So it should be on the criminal letter.
Yeah, I have it.
Okay.
I just buried it.
To let you guys fill you in, I did contact the county manager to make sure he was aware that this would be coming, because I don't think it's fair to him being another lead of a board to be blindsided. So I reached out to him to have a discussion about what we're trying to do. And if you notice the tone of the letter, I had worked with this with Harlan Vincent. Matter of fact, to kind of get him on board with this, because it's going to align with this security approach for this session. And then asking for what we look at doing with us, possibly looking at a new building. Can we get an SRO? Can we have, working on an agreement to have housing? If you guys can build a house up here, we do have property, we might have an MOU with them. So this covers a variety of stuff to get them on board and is in line with trying to get the sheriff's department under. I also talked to Mayor Sealy about this. He's on board with us trying to do a substation up here. I know that they talked about it at the council quite a bit about how to do it, and that we can work together with the village to secure housing in a place for their substation. Matter of fact, I just mentioned to Sam today again that I was gonna bring that just come to the board tonight, and he'll do whatever we need to do. And there's a county commission meeting, it's too soon to get on, which is next Tuesday. But there's one in June 14th. I'm gonna plan on talking to Jacob and see if I can get on that agenda, or at least make public comment during that time at 9:30, make a request from our board on behalf of this one. So before as we send it out to the commission.
I don't see it, just going through this very quickly, so correct me if I'm wrong. I see where, and thank you for doing this. It mentions, the growth in the area and the traffic and the activity regarding the wind farms.
Yeah.
And what we're doing as far as housing and things of that nature and our new school. But did we mention in here anything about, the different and various highways that come through our area? Because I could see them looking at this as this is just me, a situation during the wind activity, when I think this is a situation from here out.
Yes.
Okay, so.
I can add that.
Okay,
That's not an issue. This was done back in October, we talked about it the first time. And just trying to figure out what the framework was and considering the other, and then some of the issues have been people with transient coming through. That would be pretty easy to add, so I can do that, I can send the draft out to the board.
And, okay, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Yep.
The other thing I think that, I appreciate you writing this, but I do feel, since this is going to the county commissioners of Lincoln County, I feel that in addition to you, I feel that each of the board members, if they're in favor of this, that we also need to sign this letter in addition to yourself. Just putting a little bit more teeth into it, if you will. I know your position is important, but I think they need to know that this is also coming from, in addition to yourself, the school board as well. Is the school board in favor of everybody, all of the school board members, in addition to Mr. Fluff's meeting? Yeah. Okay, so I don't know if you all have had a chance to read through all of it. So if you have any other recommendations, when do you need those by, Mr. Cluff?
If we're gonna put it on the June board meeting, it's probably gonna be easier, or the June commission meeting. We need to get it 7, they like to have their agenda set 7 days prior, at least working on it. So we get it to them by the 7th. We could bring this back, I can bring it back next week, special meeting for the budget, and then we can finalize, approve, make the changes, and then I can make them on my computer, and then everybody can sign it at that point in time.
Okay, everybody good with that? Yes. Okay, perfect. Thank you, sir.
Okay. I think it would be best, Barbie, I think you're correct, that you're stating that the board and the superintendent will be submitting this letter, so it's documented on public record, so we can also share that at this board meeting, the board approved me to proceed with that at the beginning of the letter, so they know that there's been an action of the board, and then the final letter that's going out can be approved next week.
So should we, based on that comment, I'm assuming we need a motion?
Yeah.
Okay. I make a motion. Fill up the letter to the county commission concerning school security priorities and procedures. Be signed by superintendent. So. Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Here. Okay, the next item is the approval of the recommendation from Mrs. Dunlap for to employ Mrs. Pluck for a future teaching position here at Corona Public Schools in accordance with the state nepotism law as a teacher for fiscal year 25-26. We have a letter with a new stack with my recommendations for me. If you have any questions. Done a great job of filling that role and brought kind of a new perspective to some of the things that they looked at. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I read this. This was sent to us. So you should have had it in advance. Does anyone need a moment to read the letter? Okay. It's a discussion. Table this discussion. We have, as a board meeting, we need to have a discussion about this. Hiring. This is. I want to take this. Is that a form of motion? Yes. Okay. Table is to be the next week on Wednesday. Have a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Okay, it has been tabled. Okay, next item. We have approval of out-of-state travel for a team of 4 teachers. An admin for new curriculum implementation training, ADID in Anaheim, California, July 15th through the 18th of this year. That would be Mrs. Dunlap, Mrs. Davis, Mrs. Patterson, and Mr. Clough.
No.
Mrs. Clough. Oh, Mrs. Clough. Oh, yeah, there we go.
It's doesn't change based on hiring and where teachers are assigned.
Okay.
So what happened is just so you fully aware this vision is that the program that helps equip our kids with kind of similar soft skills for critical thinking and those kind of things. It's like a whole curriculum approach that you kind of train kids up in questioning, looking through things, talking through things, discussing through things. And it's a great, it works very well if we're going to make the CTE shift and working towards what we discussed as far as the CTE programs and it's going to make in high school. And so that's most of them on that list are elementary kids because they're looking space. They start learning these skills early and it makes out yes, so this is primarily your 3, 4, 5, potentially 6, 7, if we're around junior high model. And so you'd be trained at those grades, so when we move up to high school with those skills, later on we'll implement from pre-K through. And so this is something that's cohesive pre-K through 12.
So I think this is great in raising that bar for critical thinking. I think that's huge. However, I guess I have a question for you. I hear you. Sounds like this is geared more towards elementary. I'm opposed to you all taking this. But I guess I do have a question. Do you feel that we should have a high school teacher involved in this, being that they maybe need to see what's happening here to prepare for
The trainings are 2 different, Elena. Elementary and secondary are 2 different trainings, and we would have this secondary team of 4 to there. The plan all along with this was to get it implemented with elementary and start the transitions. And then add it next year. It's a 3-year agreement, then we go to pay for it. So the elementary is locked in for 3, then we have an high school additional expense on that because they're 2 separate programs that will do it. So this is strictly for grades K through 8, and then secondary could be a middle school, high school model, but it's 2 distinctly different trainings for the high school staff.
Okay, so maybe I'm just slow. So we have here, of course, 7th, 8th is in the high school. So are we saying that would be a different group of folks, or would it be high school teachers?
It could be considered a high school teacher,
Okay.
but it depends on who's assigned 7, 8, but it's primarily geared as an elementary curriculum for that. And the high school kind of reaches back in. It's actually 6 through 12, so there is a little bit of overlap when it happens. So that's the difference. I mean, the secondary one's more career gauge, how these skills apply and like that. The elementary one is more developing those skills they go in. So there's 2 distinctly different trainings for them for both those levels. Yeah. No, there's numbers. Right now, the numbers would train, if we can get it covered, is 6, 7 combined, because that would be our largest number. And that's easier to do because of accreditation or certifications of teachers. But it all depends on who we hire for staff and who's left. It could be that the 6th grade will stay down at the elementary. We do a traditional 7 through 12. We don't have all our open positions hired yet. So we don't have every, like we have a social studies opening and Marissa's opening right now for business and PE. We don't have all those hired just yet. We do have candidates we are interviewing. So that's why I said this is flexible based on who is hired and who moves forward. Yeah.
I thought it was a great idea. But I'd like to see more. I'm not saying no. But when do you have to book your accommodations?
Yeah.
We have to do it by the end of this month, so we'll have to bring it back next week.
Let's just look things up.
Yeah, I don't really want.
No, I'm just, sure, I just want. friends. Especially. Do you want to be able to that one? I see the best approach, correct me if I'm wrong, is let's move this discussion with more information to the May 21st meeting. Okay. Yes, sorry, I was already ready to go on to the next thing. Everybody in favor, signify by saying aye. Let's move. Thank you, Abby. Thank you, Barbara. Okay, oh, I was like, if we can get done with these policies. Okay, so next we have the discussion and possible action on the purchase of real property. Johnson Home for the teaching administrative housing for Corona Public Schools. You have a speech? You have a speech? Well, I can speak for the schools. In fact, here, when we made this decision as the business manager years ago, as we started about the same time. And my husband was on the board, and he said if he needed to come, he would speak. But the decision was to buy the house when the Johnsons retired. And so I think we need to hold to that. I really don't think that we can negotiate this price. But yeah, it's not, I don't think it's up for discussion that we're not gonna do it, is what I'm trying to. So I guess as far as this being an item of discussion, agreed with Barbara, we're gonna do this. I think the last meeting we had, just to bring all of you up to date, in case you weren't aware, we had the appraisal and we felt there were some errors in the appraisal. And so Mr. Clough got with the individual that provided that appraisal to us. And so that's why it's on the agenda again tonight. And then we, of course, make the decision on how we want to proceed from there. Is there anything else I've left out of that?
No, pretty much it.
And I am not certain based on, if this is confidential at this point until we decide on, or, do we share the dollar figure and negotiate further, or do we make a motion to it? This is not an action item. This is only discussion with possible action. So I guess we need a discussion on if we agree with the appraisal, and then if we so agree with the appraisal, we can make the motion to accept or other action as needed.
Got two prices.
Yeah, exactly.
Take the higher.
Oh.
Not by a lot, but there is a little bit.
The appraisal, yeah, no, we have it, I mean, which one, the 265 and the 235 or what?
Yeah, and then the.
Yeah, the value of the home, it is, and she said current market value, that's the way, because I called her and asked her,
Okay.
and it's 265 is the value of the home, but with current appraisal and everything else, she said 235 would be the appraised fair market value of the home and property and whatever.
So 265 is the net book value.
Yeah, that's right.
And 235 is the appraised value.
Right. Right. And I mean, it's one of those things, that house
Now, if you buy it off the market, it's $248 right now. I mean, the housing hasn't gone down. Housing is actually appreciated rather than depreciated to a certain extent, and we've tried to make that place, well, everybody's seen it, you know, I mean, we try to do a dang good job over there and built it like it was on. Anyway, so pick the higher. Now, that's gonna be the pros and cons about who lives there, because, oh, I forgot my key. Oh, can you go check? Oh, can you turn the fire alarm off? Oh, can you? Yeah, you get all the packages.
Is that a motion? Yes. Second,
No, I say we have. Make that decision, their market knowledge. I understand that we're, you know, it's gonna fit our community. Their market knowledge.
any other discussion? Your motion died for lack of a second. Would someone else like to make another motion?
Make a motion to 2:30.
Second? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Motion carried. $35. But I have to say, Mr. and Mrs. Johnson, you all have taken very good care of that property and have made improvements since you first came, and of course, we're gonna miss you, but we appreciate that. Okay, next item is.
Yeah.
We'll put it in the first.
Well, actually, there is another discussion that's gonna happen later tonight. We'll call you. I'll wait. I'm getting. Okay, so the next item we have is the second reading and discussion of, Kyle, are you excited about policies? No. Please stay. Thank you all for
Thank you.
appreciate it. Appreciate it. And you don't have to leave, you can stay.
The two administrators just for like 3 seconds.
So do we want to take
Based
about
on-
a 5-minute,
Just
let's
go.
take a 5-minute break? Okay. Yeah.
We know, right? I mean, it's not.
I know you do a great job. Oh, thank you. I'll just tell you. Oh. No.
David Gray.
I know we need to. Hey, John, rest my own place.
So here's actually.
$103 grand.
That was a lot of money for us. Thank you.
Yes, I did.
So she's. So, he said once a week, what's our, we can meet up. But if I, and. That's what it is, that's whatever, it's just, that's whatever it is, but it's something does. Once a week. Yeah, it's
Figure out how we draft up your sales document. Are you gonna do an attorney or want to use ours? I have the one on retainer, one with the guy here. Okay, whatever. Yeah, you can have them draft it up, I'll send it to my attorney, so then we can make sure we finalize it. If you want Judy, you want something June 30th,
It doesn't matter, I mean, we're trying to move as much as we can, it's convention, and I'm tagging animals this week. I'll be gone the middle.
She can hear you.
Here?
well, the problem is, we need to pull that up.
All my kids were in
Okay, we'll try it.
stations, so.
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah. Oh.
Here's the stuff.
Okay, I didn't know. Speaker. So I guess you know, just. Up to 70, are they still all on the east side? Oh, so you think, because I, it's all Lee County, Curry County, every county, I mean, all of them. Yeah, and it's the Mennonite community, the Seminole, it doesn't get. Let's bring up a hot tub now.
Yeah.
Okay. Alrighty. Red eye. Oh. Is everybody back? Boy, they. Yeah. We are room, I know.
It says turn on volume. Click on that.
This your date night?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's hot. Over there. Just close your eyes.
Cameras now. Can't do that.
All right. We're ready when you
Ready,
are.
policy, we're on the home stretch. Yeah, don't have to go any overdue one.
Thank you.
Hey, y'all coming.
So second reading discussion of section D, asking for approval. What will happen is we'll approve that one next month for its third reading. Then we will do the action to adopt the entire manual effective July 1. So our policy will be done, and then in July, we're gonna have to look at some things like our public meeting policies, Open Meetings Act, those types of things for adjustments in the July meeting and possibly into August, depending on how many you want to adjust. But that's kind of what.
Things we got
So
Yeah.
are we gonna have the handbook ready by?
It'll be in July. We gotta get the policies completely adopted first.
Right, exactly.
And then in July, the handbooks will be coming for the board.
And are we gonna have them published by the people helping us, or are we gonna do it ourselves?
We have to do them ourselves. The attorneys will review them in compliance with the policies. And then we will do it. That's part of the retainer. And then Dan Castile will also review it from SBA to make sure that the citations that are put in there are correct. So yes, we have two people viewing it.
Then we'll get them up on the website,
Yeah,
in the town website, or?
yes.
Because at times I can. I
I
can always,
know around the webs.
I can always get on.
Things are outdated.
Yes, I know you guys have been busy.
It's not so formatted for mobile.
No. the
Yeah.
problem is with
That's what it is.
Yeah, getting access off the app is much different than doing it.
Yes. It is.
And it's a lot smaller fonts, and like that's the problem with the app. But on the regular website, things get updated sometimes, but Apogee, we had an issue in April with it not communicating with the app because they did an systems update and we weren't having stuff pushed out properly.
Okay.
They got that fixed around April 17th, so everything should be operational and up to date. Like, we put in a whole bunch of spring dates in the calendar that never got pushed out. And they weren't on the website either, so they had issues. It was a quirk when they were having Windows issues on their side of operation, but it's all fixed. It'll be operational, and that'll be part of Amanda's responsibilities. Her position next year is she'll be a part of that, making sure. So, and we're also looking at adding the multimedia class to help run our website and like that as part of the CT with the home with the MD work up. So we've got a plan in place to make sure it's being viewed.
Okay, great. Thanks.
So we need a motion for approval, second reading for this.
Okay, motion please. I move to approve the second reading and discussion of policy section G. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye.
Okay. Third reading and approval of section J. There's a typo, so it should be section J. It says below.
Yes.
So section J, third reading for approval. There were no changes recommended at that time, but we will review some of those when we go to look at revision in July. This was directed last month for second reading.
Okay. Motion. Move to approve the third reading of section J 50 through J 708. All those in favor? Aye.
Thanks. Yeah.
What policies are like all of these?
So we are down to D. Okay.
Okay, discussion item.
All right, so we're down to D, discussion items and updates. I'll say that so Randa can hear. And the first item is teacher housing update.
Okay, teacher housing update, we did get the asbestos testing that was required by PSFA. We're going through the process of being reimbursed for that. We also got in the demo bids. We're in process of getting the contract together and get it issued. I can't state it yet because PSFA has not done it, but we did get a bid that was $7,000 underneath the estimate for demolition. It's a company out of Albuquerque. I can say that because there were 5 companies from Albuquerque that bid on it. But hopefully by the end of this week, PSFA will have that contract approved. We can issue it. Timeline is still intact. We're trying to get them on site by June 1 to do all their work. Should take them 14 days by the agreement. And at that time, we will start entering into the agreement through the state contracts for the housing through our supplier. So we've got to get the demo contract issued, then we can go out and do the housing contracts for that. And the good news is the market has kind of turned down and stabilized in it. The amount they gave us, the housing may actually be a little bit cheaper than the initial estimates and quotes that we did 8 months ago. But we'll have to see what it is because it depends on the bells and whistles we want to put in it. And what we want to do with utilities and like that, but once you get the final design and do that, and then they will also do the foundation work. They're going to put a retention wall because the grade of that because of the erosion that was determined by PSFA. So they'll do the lot setup and the housing at the same time.
Nice.
So.
Good. There isn't
So then
anybody in them,
July
right?
15, right?
Nobody in them, right? Or we're just demolishing?
No, that was the one that was condemned
That's the one
last year. That's one I was supposed to move into that never got brought up to code and couldn't do it. There's that one. And we do have a vacant teacher house we're keeping open right now. For some of the new hires we're interviewing, they may need that one. So we did have a tenant move out. So we have that one open for that. And the timeline may be delayed a little bit depending on how much it takes for foundation like that.
but they're still anticipating worst case scenario, unless they hit something strange with doing the lot. By July 31st, having everything down, but they're shooting for the July 15th date they had originally. Trying to get the house, keep the fingers crossed.
Cool. Yeah. Usually.
Yeah.
What's our delays?
But
What are
there's a sinkhole that was down there from the water leak they have to inspect. The soil samples, we will not know until they go through and do the soil samples of what they do. That could increase what they have to do for footers for the retention wall. That's the one thing that PSA will, because they came down and did the site inspection right after that water main broke down there. And they want to make sure it's not a permanent sinkhole over top of there, but they have to do all the soils. We won't know that until we get ready for the excavation, where they have to do the soil samples and everything else and do the plan together with that. But again, we are dealing with sometimes hard to say, and sometimes like pulling teeth to get answers.
Very good.
Yep. And they're understaffed right now, they lost 3 people in the last month.
Experience.
3, they're most experienced people. Yeah.
Oh. Wonder why they're leaving, just overworked.
What I'm hearing, what I heard was that the person who was elevated, there were just conflicts between the person that was hired to take over from the retiree director. And there's just been a lot of turmoil, and some folks have just said, we're done. Yeah. You know, leadership turnover is really, yeah. Yeah,
And Scott definitely got hired as the chief of facilities down on the border with the pay rate. So that's one of the people that lost. And Ryan, Ryan Barnes was another one, and he's an architect, so he went back to the architecture side because of all the stuff the state's building right now. So he got recruited by an architecture firm, and Elise Ramos, who was the 3rd person that retired.
I remember her.
She's contracting right now.
Yeah, she retired.
Yeah, she retired as contracting, so she retired from the doing project management for school, management facility.
Yeah.
That's, yeah. Okay, next item. Everybody good to move on? Yeah. Okay, phone security system, external access, PA system.
Okay, we have everything set up except the splitter did not come in between the 2 buildings. That's gonna be done next week, the 20th or 21st. That part came in, so we will be able to do operational, and the caller ID number is a Corona number, but it will not be the 1911, it's 1711, because those are the emergency access numbers now. When it calls out, it will show a 5575 6 something extension that's routing itself through a plateau number that is the new extensions, because there were no 849 extensions left. So it's going to a landline, it's there, but for emergency purposes, outside people can access the PA system. We get law enforcement, either one of those numbers, they'll be able to get access to it. And if there's an issue inside the building, they can control the PA system indirectly.
So I have a question. I know I brought this up before because
Yeah.
Plateau's told me all copper is going away.
Yeah.
Is that, when you say landline, is that an actual copper landline?
As far as I understand this, but I'll have to check for sure with them when they get here next week. Because our system is voice over IP. And I believe we still that is one of the landline numbers, but I'll have to check with Bill and Dave to make sure. Because if they put that all away with copper, then then they won't be able to get access to their security system either, because if it's internet voice over IP, they won't be able to do any of that stuff virtually from there. So yeah, I'll check with the contractor. Whenever they're here. My understanding was it was an actual landline, but they could pull that out at any time if they're pulling that stuff out too. So I don't know what that answer would be.
Will copper be the same as fiber optics though? I mean, you know,
No.
you gotta have powerful.
Yeah.
Fiber, yeah.
So this is, that's why I try to keep my landline copper lines.
Yep.
They run, when they run fiber, you don't have a choice. I have fiber. When your power goes out, I have a little orange telephone that I've had since college.
Yep.
Yeah.
We all have it up there.
No, I can call them. Yeah.
Sure, plateau. But I saw.
They took it out. I wonder why I was special, but
Because the area and the timing when you're.
Yeah.
Well, I just, I'm very, little CEO. Well, I talked to Lana Waller, I was sick. And they brought me 2 big battery packs, because I told Lana, I said, I gotta have communications when there's
Yeah.
a power outage to the, I mean, now it's an issue, but they were like, it is what it is, and I said, Lana, I said, but these rural areas.
When did you get fiber optic?
These-
Oh, see, I had
Out there
mine,
was
I've
2010.
had mine.
Oh,
for a
something
while.
something
Yeah.
new that they're
Like I
gonna.
said,
yeah,
it's the
on the
timing.
fire, they
No,
just-
I've had mine, like, almost even.
But what I was told, so I'll be curious to see what they
Yeah.
tell you, that
Yeah,
all
I've
copper
done.
will eventually go away, because that is how their, the feasibility and how they're doing the fiber is all copper will go
Well, how would
away.
they do emergency services in the building?
I asked those emergency services,
Exactly.
exactly. Interesting, but
Yeah.
anyway.
First question.
I guess.
Go ahead, Gert. Ask the question when they get.
Why don't you question and see what happens?
And on a daily life, like your iPhone, satellite.
Yeah.
If you lose cell service and it connects satellite, it tells you and has a little
Yeah,
picture of that
right.
satellite. You gotta follow it. Yeah.
Yeah.
You text and whatever.
Our cell phones weren't working. There.
Okay, we're gonna stay on track. All right, are there any other items that the board would like to discuss at this time?
Our overhead work company, that was it.
Yeah, that's the door quote. For security for, well, I had them break it out itemized, so that way you can do it. They did both the outside and interior doors, so we want lockable vestibules inside of those. And we can pull it as an à la carte menu if we want to do it that way. And prioritize doors, but we will have to look, the other company that's doing it is giving me a 2-stage bid of the 6 doors that were identified by the fire marshal that need to have maintenance or replacement on it. And then they brought out their hinge expert because they are starting to see some wear and tear on the doors where the hinges are pulling away from the frames. So they brought out a hinge expert and they're gonna give us a prioritized quote of what's going on. That's the company that is usually notoriously higher in the state. The one CHM that has their sister office in Colorado, but has one in Albuquerque, is usually lower with Ricotta, so I'll be interested to see what they do, and I'm hopefully gonna have it by next week so you compare. But I will pull out for next week's special meeting, so you know for budget, the 6 doors that have to be attached, but though that was your complete quote for all exterior door maintenance and repair and replacement.
You ever use these folks?
I use them in silver for my locks.
And were you happy?
Depends on which one of the locksmiths came out to my district, to tell you the truth.
We used them
yeah.
a lot, but it was
Yeah.
a little bit different. It
Yeah.
was bay doors, but they always.
Yeah, they do outside doors really well. Yeah, and we use that, but CHM has the state contract for Colorado and Arizona for Ricotta. And they're starting their branch office in Albuquerque, and this started last year, so I'm being interested to see what they do. But they were very highly recommended by the districts in Arizona and Colorado that I had contacted, so we'll see what CHM comes up with. They may be more expensive, they may be the same, but the cost of doors and the hinges, with the heavy duty hinges for safety and security is what's doing it, and we can choose how we go. Like I said, if this goes over 60,000, I gotta have you guys approve them. So looking, if you do the individual 6 doors is gonna be below the 60,000, we get that scheduled and get it done. Then if we want to vote on the rest, I'll make sure you guys are informed next week of what a plan of action could be, because we have to put it in our budget and use some of our bond money for it. And so we can look at what we want to do with the rest of the doors and recommendations to do it, but if we're looking at going for the new building and looking at doing that in the future, that 7 mil floor, Nick and Steve will be coming next month to talk about that impact on us, because we're at 6.7 right now. We don't have to go for 3.3 mils now. We can go for 1 or 1.3, get it up to 8. So it's going to reduce the amount of tax, and actually what has happened, because some of Patterns and Blatner's properties have come onto business, it's gone from $11 per 100,000 worth of value. They're guessing right now. They're running the actual numbers to about $7 or $8 per 100,000 of value your taxes point. Because the business offset is greater than what was anticipated.
Right. Okay.
Okay, so back to the doors.
Yeah,
So we have a recommendation from the fire. Is that like the bare minimum, or is that
what is
the
required?
standard?
Well, the doors that are going in are the fireproof doors that are required by fire marshal as well. So these are the standard to meet New Mexico code. Fire codes in New Mexico, as Robbie will tell you at times for public buildings and like that, are crazy. But these are the doors that have to be replaced because we're missing 2 bullions up at the theater that were taken out that cannot secure. And that mullion is part of the fireproofing of those doors. So CHM was looking to see if they could just replace the mullions and the frames on the inside as opposed to replacing that door. They replaced all replacement. That's the thing with overhead door. When I dealt with them with keys, I just wanted to do one building and they tried to set it up at Silver where it was every building with a new master key, master tumbler. We only wanted our 2 shop areas in the building to keep the same so the teacher could have access to carrying 60 keys that he had. So that's the issue with overhead door, but I'll see what CHM comes back because they sent their hinge specialists out last week. He thinks even 2 doors the fire marshal pegged, he can replace the hinges and get it back in the code. So we'll see what he does and we'll go from there. But the 2 in the auditorium, the one on the elementary there doesn't close and this one that doesn't close are the 4 that are targeted for replacement. This one should be able to be fixed according to both companies. So that's the 5th door. And then the other one, the 6th door is over on the pre-K.
Last question, unless somebody has something else. Just because I ran into this at the co-op, when we did a full, are these gonna be the ones who are replacing full metal doors?
Yeah, it depends on what, there are 2 options we can choose. They could be full metal,
Okay,
or they could be the safety doors with the slimmer windows so you can see out with a doorbell system and like that. If you're going in there, that's 2 options. But right now, I asked both of them for the exterior doors, at least 2 of them that we need to have that access to have the slit windows instead of the big ones like we've got now. So they're going to be smaller.
okay,
And then the other ones, like if we have to replace the end doors down here, they could be all metal. We just have to make sure that where there's the access points for Verkada, you have the view out.
okay, that was what I was.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's all the access points they're looking at, and we also had them look at the gym access because the gym doors, I'm gonna recommend be replaced, but they think they can just replace the hardware on them. But we'll see what they come back with because because we gotta get new strike plates and all that on the gym to make it work. And then we'll see what they do. And then we can go from there and see what happens, but they'll be, because the hardware is shifting in the door. They don't know yet if it's a door issue or it's just a hardware replacement issue. If those holes have worn out over time because it's broken and it's one side of each that's the most user getting in and out. So they put in the possibility, I told them just place replacement for those 2 sets of doors in the gym too, just be careful. But it could always come in less than when they pull that hardware off because the doors are good. They're not warped. It's the hardware, the strike plates and the frame, the mullion in the middle that's caused the issue because it's warped in both those doors over there. So they might be able to replace the mullion and the hardware and it'll make it work. But this is, I told them, give me the worst case scenario. That way we had what the maximum amount would be and we could go from there.
Okay. I have one other question. Do we have enough electricity for all of this?
Yes.
Everything is working properly as far
Mhm.
as the juice?
Yeah.
And then, that's all, unless somebody has some more, otherwise I have some more questions. Go ahead.
With the cameras,
Yeah.
where are we getting blind spots?
Camden's under assessment and we have to get them the external corner cameras. So Angela's going to look at doing that when they're down here that week of June 13th. So I will call her and let her know because I want to make sure you guys were aware of it before I had her start writing up quotes and everything. But we can do those, but there's going to be a couple other options. They may want to come down and Angela may bring their people down hopefully as you come down next week is what she was hoping to look and see if we can do telescoping cameras off the corners of the buildings. So we can do that and see what they would do instead of having to run everything out to the corner and run a camera there. And look at this, maybe put one up on the corner of the gym, one of the corner of the rock building that goes out to that back road and shoot down. And then one here on the corner of the high school and see if we can get those 3 roads coming and see. Or we have to put 2 on the gym so we can get that way and that way, because putting on the rock building is gonna be a pain. Yeah, it's the new one that's taken over our maintenance agreement for the warranty camp out of Santa Fe.
So on that note,
Yeah,
based on the way those are set, it's gonna be recording any activity. It'll start recording, it'll turn on and start recording. Based on the parameters that are set.
yeah.
And so I know we're storing up on the cloud. I know there'll probably be a cost associated. I don't remember what that is.
It's an annual fee.
You're probably, based on where you're wanting to I mean, safety is first.
Yeah,
But just FYI, we're probably looking at some costs associated with storage based on all of the activity that's gonna be occurring in those areas. Just FYI.
and the thing is, once we get the parameters set up, it can be done with suspicious instead of all activity. It will record it, but if there is like suspicious activity, then when we go back and look, we can tag a face, tag a plate, which will reduce the storage of it.
Yeah, who's actually monitoring things?
CamNet, CamNet is the one that monitors it for us. But because we don't have that motion sense and everything else, it's not recording license plates or facial recognition of cars and those types of things. It is storing the person activity. It tags person on the camera and it's stored to the cloud. But unless there is an alarm associated with it, or we tag a facial person or license plate as possible, that's the issue, is there's no license plates or no people in there. Like if we would get, like they brought up, we get notices by mail of all sex offenders that are registered within a certain radius of our school. If we scan that into the system, it'll put it in and do it, so it'll tag that person, and we get an alarm or warning. Right now, as pointed out, there are no people in there that have been tagged as suspicious because we either don't have the sex offender, any criminal records to come with them, or they can't get a clear enough shot like happened with our incident out there of that person for us to tag it and can racially recognize and go forward. So that's the issue right now with the system until we get those external cameras and we can tag and find out, because they can run that face back against the database they have in the state of New Mexico and across the country. And they can tell you if that person is there, because we're not getting that quality footage. We're not being able to get it, which is why they're recommending the external corner cameras to make sure we get that traffic and tag.
Can we get a list?
We can get a list, but we have to also put people in. So if we get the sex offender from the county, we can send that to them through their system. They scan it into the system. They'll even put the name associated with it. And then if that person shows up, we'll immediately get an alarm on our phones, those of us that are administrators on the program.
And they do know.
Yeah.
Plus, when the sex offenders.
Yeah.
We call.
Yeah.
Just to verify. That what I'm receiving matches what's.
Yeah.
Which actually.
Yeah.
I mean, it's only an extra layer, it's their, obviously their database is much more, but,
Okay, I feel like I'm beating a dead horse. Came to the FFA banquet and the grounds here are atrocious. There's still trees growing between the wall and the tennis court. There's trees growing out of the side of the auditorium. Weeds were taller than me. I don't know. I feel like we've got to do something. Our campus is like hell. Done. Done. She said it. Yeah. Done.
Part of this is, is landscaping with those guys, and that was part of their class project this year, and it's not been done yet. So I will get Damien and Gilbert on it starting tomorrow.
I've seen I've seen the landscaping Dr. does. It can't be the entire campus. He does certain sections because I've worked with him on it. But the auditorium, between the auditorium and the cafeteria, those weeds are taller than me. And I've seen the weeds and the trees growing between the tennis courts and the wall for over a year now. And the ones growing out of the side of the auditorium, they're still there too. But we gotta address these.
They
know that's part of
their job.
Yeah.
Gilbert's supposed to be doing it, so he's the one who's ultimately responsible for the ground. So,
Well, hold this feet to the
Yeah.
fire. I'm sick of talking about this, to be honest.
Yeah, we talked about it.
Yeah, we talked for everybody here.
I have a question, just because of the comments I get from the community, and I know you guys are here. Do you know where they are during the day?
Davey and I do, Gilbert disappears and we've had this meeting with him.
These are the comments, I'm just sharing what I've heard secondhand. Okay, I've not seen it myself, because I'm not here a lot either. But I think that he's a very frequent flyer down at the El Corral during the day, is what I'm hearing.
I think if you can't find him, he's down there.
You think you people take direction with it?
Yeah. I don't know, I'm just, I've had it.
Well, it's only one time a day in the morning is what they're doing right
It
now.
looks like.
I've seen them in that. Great Clark, they're going somewhere.
Well, that's when we have events, is when we have something.
Not day in the week, every day, 3 o'clock.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm guessing they're, right, I would assume. So I don't know where they wake up, 3 o'clock every day. Every day. Cause they
But we
always
have
try to stuff like that.
For a year, I just can't emphasize how much that this campus looks like hell. We've got a graduation coming up in less than a week. And like in 3 days,
Right,
and
right. So
I was just astounded at the weeds. And
So I have another question.
That's all right.
Barbie?
I just renamed you. Oh, no.
I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Everybody have your, where I grew up. Oh, Barbie. Okay, I'll answer.
And I know you're working on getting the job descriptions and getting things ready where you can do a PIP, and all of those things, but, and I know you're busy and you are too. And, you know, when you hire folks, you expect them to do their job, but you know, we talked about the possibility, and of course, this is something you guys are gonna have to decide to do, being direct report, but whatever you're doing, I'm sorry, it's not working. And so, I don't know, I guess as a manager, what I am familiar with, when I had these unfortunate, individuals that completely gobble your time, you gotta do it to get it back on track, or you move on and find somebody else. But is there a way that you can say, example given, graduation is next week? You've got until
graduation is Saturday.
this week, you've got until Friday night
Yeah.
to get all this done. This is where you gotta be, and you gotta have it done by this time. Come back to me, let me know when you're finished.
That is their plan for tomorrow, because they have them going doing grounds for graduation tomorrow. I mean, they've always done it the day before, they wax the floor on Monday, finish it on Tuesday, set it up today, and then Thursday and Friday will they be done grounds for graduation.
I've only been to a couple, but it was in years past. And I don't remember it looking like that. So it's always being done, they weren't hired.
No.
So at some point, it was different.
And there's missing tiles in the ceiling, there's holes in the wall behind the stage. I mean, the whole building was in such a state of disrepair. I was, dang, I mean, I can finally walk in here and I don't see, but in the auditorium, there's ceiling tiles missing. That's an easy fix. And there's holes up on the stage in the wall.
Are the bathrooms in addition
And
to
the
that,
the bathrooms were clean, I have to say, but the toilets were running constantly, and I had more than one person come up and say, hey, that stall on the end of the women's bathroom's just running. And, you know, they're just running. No wonder our water bill is so high.
That is what's being replaced this summer with all the sewer work in the toilets. I mean, it's been that way, and if we shut off the water to one, we shut it off to all.
All of them, yeah.
That's the problem. And we've
And we
done
can't
everything to
replace
shut it, but when
the
people use it, they leave the handles down and jiggle, there's the connection on the inside. That's the issue.
Put signs, jiggle the
Yeah.
handles with water running.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know until we can get on the place too. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, I have, but I'm like, I was just, it's heartening to see. After a year of having these discussions, I'm at my wit's end.
So we've had the projects with the plumbing, correct?
Yes.
Those moving forward, or we had a standstill till school's done, or what's going on?
16th is whenever we go 13th through 16th when the last sewer and toilet projects are being done.
So I guess what I'm gonna request, just because it's been an ongoing issue, is, we could have, and I think we've made this request, historically, but maybe not exactly like this. But I guess I would like you know what? I think I want them to come in here to the next board meeting. And I would like for them to share what projects, I want to put them on the hot seat. I mean, I'm one board member, is the rest of the board okay with that? Yeah, I'm fine.
I encourage you.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
I would
I
love
think
that.
there's a creative way, let's put some heat on them. I want them to give a presentation of what their plans, their ideas, what they've accomplished, what they plan to accomplish, and we're gonna hold their feet to the fire.
It's hard to justify this, and Joel did it himself.
Yes, exactly.
Oh.
Joel and Mr. Proctor.
And Porter,
Right.
Porter,
And Fred was really good too.
Gilbert.
yeah.
Yeah.
But Joel did a lot of the outside work. Fred did more of the. He did the inside and the HVAC. You know, fixing this, fixing that, making sure the toilets worked. That was a little above Joel's ability, but outside you can have asked for a better person. He might have been kind of slow, but by God, he got it done, And I know that he went around in the elementary, because that's the building I was in. He went in every day, every single day, 4 and maybe sometimes 5 times a day. He cleaned every single bathroom in that room, including the staff bathroom. And so it's not impossible. It's doable.
And those were older gentlemen.
And they were older.
But those were much older gentlemen.
Yeah.
Anyway,
And if he wasn't in scrubbing toilets and cleaning and vacuuming and doing stuff, he was outside riding a mower or running a weed chain, like the weed eaters. He was doing something. He was cleaning weeds out of the cracks in the sidewalk. He was cutting down the trees growing up randomly here and there. So I just, it's doable. I was here when I saw it done. It's not being done now.
okay, so can you have them come to us and share, of course, after you all, whatever you need to do with them to get them ready for that, at the next board meeting?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll need we need to hold their feet to the fire. Okay.
Let me ask one question real quick, a completely different track. With the event that happened, what is one of these footballs?
KK.
Okay.
Kelsey.
Did anybody go look for the guy that came onto the grounds?
It happened at 1:40. When it was reported, they walked out at 2:06. There was nobody on grounds because I went out and checked, and I went and checked cameras. It was 1:40 and he left campus at 1:50.
So we knew for 14 minutes he
No.
was here?
There was nothing called in, and we were both in PLC meeting. I was in the elementary. She was there. Yeah.
To be honest with you, I still don't know what happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, me either, and I wasn't
Yeah.
here for the last meeting.
Yeah, because,
No.
well, this is the,
No, I think Carol-
yeah, this is the first we heard that we saw it tonight.
So it happened at 1:40, but we were last week, or last meeting.
I didn't hear his name
No.
until. Then that may have been my, because I was still lost, then what?
So it happened at 1:40, and we reported at 1:50.
No, we saw him leave the camera. It didn't, Haley did not leave the meeting until 2:00 between 2:00 and 2:06 to go outside, because on the cameras, you see him 142 walking up the side, it's kicked at 140, you could see the image off where he's walking. And 142 is where the next camera picked him up by the tennis courts. And at 152 is when he was walking out between the auditorium and the old cafeteria. And then at 2 o'clock, between 2 o'clock and 2:05 is when the call came in and walked out of our PLC meeting at the elementary. And then when they came back in, they told me what was going on. That's when I walked out, see if anything was going on. Then I came down and checked the cameras to see the time.
So they did tell you.
They did tell you.
Yeah, after the fact.
After 2.
It was 2:06 and he left campus at 1:52. 14 minutes, and we looked at all cameras leaving and everything else. And there was no images of him leaving campus other than walking out through there.
Let me see if I can clarify my question.
Yeah.
When you found out,
Yeah,
was your first response to go find him?
my first response was to walk out. I walked out, and then I came down and checked the camera.
So did you go look for him before you checked him?
Yes.
That's what I'm trying.
I walked out the back door, looked where the incident supposedly occurred by the tennis courts,
Yeah.
walked out, and then I came back and went to the cameras to see what the event
See where he
was.
went and
Yeah.
who he was and all that. Okay. I'm just trying to get details.
Yeah.
What we probably should have done is at that point file the police report. The school probably should have. That's just my opinion. And it
Yeah, I
is
thought
what you
Lauren-
did. So
Lauren said he
I
did.
think he already did.
did.
Yeah, but we needed to.
No, he didn't, because I talked to Rex Spears today. There's no complaint filed by anybody on that day, and I talked to Rex Spears today.
It was the next morning that he filed it.
He checked everything related with Corona. I have to check with Rex to make sure, because he may not know. Now that I know the person that filed it, I can let Rex know, because when he went back and looked, there was nothing at 24 hours that was called into dispatch, let's put it that way.
The officer actually came and met with. Hope I don't have my facts. But from my understanding, he actually came and met.
And that may be part of our problem because we all have Mike Wood's phone number. And if you call the sheriff, does that all get processed through the right paperwork and channeled through? So aren't you, do we have reports? If you don't call dispatch, those bills may not get met.
No.
And I think we take that for granted because we do know Mike and we have his phone. And it has to be, it has command, for instance, what's the chain of command so that there's proper. So it might be the best thing, like you said, is one.
Yeah.
Then it gets reported automatically.
Yeah.
So, future.
Right, yeah, something to.
So I think that's something we need to think about. Plus, I also think Casey said, interview, something
We
like
don't
this.
know who it is, Robbie.
Yeah, I don't know. We don't have been enough space.
So then I think, I want to tell you, interview, I need guidance, because if I interview somebody, I get chewed out because they're sitting there.
That's my next question.
And I, with that.
Exactly, we need to find out, you're right,
Do you want me to do it in a timely manner? I can't call parents that are out gathering cows in Encino.
exactly, no,
So,
and I agree with you, but I think we need to have a policy, that we need, or we need to have a procedure in place that, because you're right, Amanda, they, you know, they were upset because nobody ever gets informed.
Right.
But some things, I think they don't need to know, but overall, I think if it's just a generic, but again, we need to pass it by our attorneys, that we had an incident and this, we are working on it, but this is all we can share at this time due to legal counsel. Something along those lines that says, yes.
And there was
Well, we
something
need
that
to-
went out, but I don't know if that
Yeah,
went to just those that
in
were
the elementary
involved directly,
or high school.
or if it was. I guess I'm referring to, I'm not sure whether, I assume they were talking about the title. Yeah.
Yeah, see, I think they were talking about, and we
Yeah.
haven't shared that information. But I think just a generic, we had an incident, but we cannot share details.
Right.
Our legal counsel has informed us that we cannot share details, but there was an incident on this day, or, you know, I just think we need to have a little more.
There's a big difference between, oh, whose gun was that, questioning it. what that
Exactly, what
was.
that was,
Yeah.
yeah,
There's
so,
a big
but
difference.
I think that's a huge deal, though.
I think, I hear them, and I felt it too, and even though from two different circumstances. And I know everybody's busy, totally get it, but at the same time, those are the big issues. As a parent, of course, I've had two different situations. And I guess my issue, which I've been very, and I'm sorry, it's been a rough night, based on all the comments. Don't take it personally.
Well, and I take that's me, and I know.
So you can't though, and I saw you, and I didn't want to draw attention to you and make it worse, but I'm just gonna, and I know we're recorded here, so I'll be cautious, but, we gotta move forward. We gotta fix this deal. We gotta move forward.
But we need to move forward as a team.
Yes.
And some of those comments were not the team.
But I think Mrs. Eldridge did a very nice job.
Yeah.
And because that's what it takes, is not necessarily, but
Yes.
it was one of the ones here to do public comment. She did a beautiful job. In closing that up, I was.
And I made me cry.
Yes.
Just because.
But we gotta move forward, and just being very black and white here is the communication is huge, and all it takes, and I know it takes a little bit of time and you're busy, or whoever's gonna do this. But just a general letter, because some of these kids, if their parents just have that opportunity to know what's going on and have that conversation at home, hey, this could happen, and we're aware, and, just answer questions. Everybody, they know that you're taking care of stuff, and that they have a chance, the parent and the student, and it's a prettier loop than just these things happening. And I know you're just trying to get stuff done, but it will get you in the butt, every single time.
The gossip will come back
Yeah.
and bite us.
Yeah.
And the gossip most of the time is not correct. So.
all we need.
Yeah, and but it's always.
If you give them the right information, they will come up with their.
And it's always right to them, and so. I mean, I'm just saying that I think we just need to communicate a little better, and it can be generic.
I'm
And
gonna bring it.
and bring the legal into it, just say we cannot say, give you details.
I am going to bring up 2 points with this. One, not a single parent individual has called me at all on security in this interim. There's an issue there.
Yeah.
If they're not willing to call, how can we react as an administrative team? And if you guys are getting calls, I need to know, Amanda needs to know, so we need to reach out to people.
Well,
We need to be able to help resolve this, because it's my job as superintendent to correct these actions. But if you're getting calls from parents and trying to solve the issue, we can't solve an issue because what we may be doing may be different than what you guys are saying. So we need to make sure we're informed of what you're being informed, so that way we can react in a positive way. But I have not got a single call on this issue since it happened.
And I'm gonna ricochet. Okay, so this is what I think is happening. And I hear you, it should always go through the proper channels. And that's anytime I get a phone call, just so you know, and and the rest of staff, that before we hang up, usually that's the first question I ask. Have you gone through the proper protocol being XYZ? Okay. What happened on this deal, though, is it was here. That's when I started getting the phone calls, is based on people's perception, I'll just put it that way, of how we reacted as principal, superintendent, and school board. That's when I started getting the phone calls, as they saw that. And so to me, that is all of us. You guys were involved in that, so that bypasses the process. Now it's here. And that's how I looked at that. And I think that's what happened. It just, it exploded, and just to show you how quickly, okay, I think Brenda has a question. Yes, Brenda?
She's on mute.
Hey,
Unmute.
Brenda, unmute.
Unmute. There she is.
Okay,
Hi,
sorry,
Brenda.
there's a little bit of a lag. Hi. So I did want to state that after talking with our lawyer while doing the Title IX investigation, because we did have questions about, why is my child being interviewed? without my permission, things like that. Whenever we are interviewing all students within the school, we were told that that falls under the umbrella of the school, so we are protected under that. So that way we do not have to contact parents every single time we are questioning the students. And then, you know, kind of to piggyback off of what Amanda was saying, I think that as long as we all have communication together as one, I think that the community will feel a lot more secure. I think right now we are wreaking havoc of what has happened in the past. And so it's getting rough and tough right now because now the community feels like they have a voice. And so, you know, we're getting a lot of pushback as administrators and trying to do our jobs and pacify. But like Mr. Clough said, whenever we don't know, and I understand the incident that happened at the school, but whenever we don't know what's going on as well, it's hard for us to do our job. And so I think figuring out a way to make the community feel comfortable and safe to come and talk to all of us so that we can all be on the same page would really be key, huge.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I agree with you, Brenda, but I also think just a generic letter, just saying, you know, just informing them, just educating our parents that we don't need your permission to tell you where, you know. I mean, I just think there's some certain things that I just think generically that we can put out there that will appease them. And if it doesn't appease them, get a lawyer. We'll see you in the courthouse steps.
Well, and I wanna just, I wanna also add, I hear you in the initial response from the attorney to giving you all legal guidance and you're following the legal guidance. But at the same time, and Randa and Amanda, I know Curtis, you're fairly new, you're basically a Coronian now, but you know our culture, you know, maybe in some school systems, parents aren't as involved. And maybe they're used to this type of thing on a regular basis. I will say it's been unfortunate that we've been hit with things that historically we don't have to deal with. And so this is new for everybody. So what might work for the general public, you need to think about what's going to work for Corona. What's going to work for Corona. And I'm not telling you to do something outside of legal counsel, but make sure, hey, maybe we better send out a general letter, just letting folks know. I know that takes time, but look at what it's doing to us now. And so maybe ask general counsel, what do you think? Maybe let them draft the letter.
Yeah.
You know, and if you guys are busy and get that sucker shoot out if they're good with it. But yeah, we've got to think about what's going to happen if I don't let folks know what's going on here. So that will help in the communication that you're saying you're not getting. The next thing I just want to say as a school board member and as a parent, with people coming to us, maybe instead of going to you all. I think that there has been, and I think a lot of it is because of, even though there was a comment that it's not all pattern, I'm going to say it's all pattern. But a lot of the students that have been here that are different than the kids that we've raised that know what they can and can't do, or they're going to get their butts whipped when they get home. So we have had some additional disciplinary issues, and I think there's maybe been, because that's something we're not accustomed to, maybe been a little lax on some things, and so people are feeling like they got to take it up a level. I don't know. So I'm just sharing that for whatever it's worth. If in fact, kind of what I'm feeling, if we tighten up there and we're consistent and we deal with these things head on and we don't let them ride, we deal with everything the same, we're consistent and we stand our ground and we're assertive, I think that will help too. So that's all I'm saying. I just want to share.
I just want to say, I too have received some folks calling me, emailing me, and first thing I ask them is, have you gone there? You know, I said, I can't deal with this. You guys have not gone to admin. And if they tell me no, then I'm like,
my hands are tied. You guys, you're not doing the proper channels. So. I mean, but I do think communication would really, I think that would solve a lot of some of the complaints, you know.
And I'll say I was better at communicating last year than the whole lot this year.
I know, and it has been a crazy, it really has, I agree. I've never seen this happen, right? I mean, not to my knowledge, not when my kid was here since second grade, she's 35 years old. So I'm just like, yeah.
But now,
But
but
I
the
think
comment that was
guarantee-
made, the pivot, we're ready
Yeah,
to
we're ready
pivot.
to pivot. Let's move on. Yeah. You know, clean slate, move on. And I know it's hard for you, Amanda, not to.
I wear my
it
heart on my
personally.
sleeve. What it is.
You know, but it's nothing personal. I mean, they're venting at the school, but not at you, or they're venting at the school.
Well, then if
And
nothing
we
else,
haven't
their hands,
handled
they
it.
know that I love.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. But it, you know, they're venting at all of us, right?
And I just appreciate they care enough that they were here.
Yeah.
That's what you have to take away from all of this.
Yeah, in 15 years I've been here, that's the first meeting we've ever had happening.
I know, I had to say, wow. I was emoting. Just as many as when you asked the teachers to come tell us what they thought and what they, or not just the teachers, the staff.
And that was
Yeah, that was huge.
on your.
I think we need to do that again.
Well,
You know, at the start
well,
of the-
we get ready for strategic planning bar, we got to
Yeah,
bring them
yeah,
in, be part of
exactly.
that process, so.
But I think inviting them like we did the last time, I think that was huge, you know? And I think we need to have the culture of positive things, negative things, doesn't matter, bring it to us. And you know, we're trying to fix it. If we need to fix something, we're trying to fix it.
I still think they're a little self-shocked with being empowered as much as they have been with the input and the feedback and everything else they've had. I still think there's still that transitioning happening of, does this really happen or do they really mean it? I still think there's still that little bit of shell-shock still left behind. And we have a lot of staff that come to us, but we have some staff that make snide comments or whatever out in the hallway and expect things, but I'll just say this, and I agree with everything said tonight. Communication is going to be critical, taking everything forward, looking at this as a team, creating that team atmosphere back here again, because based on conversations we had with staff, that team has been the elementary team versus the high school team. It's been the way the buildings have been run, and we're trying to bring those barriers down. I also think the other side of this is the two biggest things, safety and discipline in the school, is everybody involved. We have to make sure, like you said, because our policies, once we get the policies of those matrices and handbooks can be updated. Because there's nothing in there on the only thing we use for acceptable use, the acceptable use policy we give students. We have a new cell phone policy. We have to adapt. We're putting input in with PED that we have to do. We either have to do lockers or sacks for them to carry around today and not have access to. So that's the thing. Once we get those policies, we can do the handbooks and all that, like we've said all along.
By the way,
That's gonna be all.
I support that.
Yeah, I do too.
Well, the problem's gonna be is there's such a demand for those bags, we'll be able to implement it by the start of school. I mean, they're already back ordering those things. I've looked into it. Luckily, we're a small school, we can do it. But everybody has to wait till July 1 when the law goes into effect to buy them. If you buy them in advance, unless you're doing it already with the policy, everybody's putting orders in now, so we'll get that resolved too. So the other option we have for that is for them to check them into the office until we get those bags here. And we can have use.
So that.
Yeah. Yeah, we're getting ready to do that. Yeah. We gotta figure out which vendor's gonna get it. Yeah.
We can get that.
So whatever you have done, or begun.
It won't be done. It was brought for a class presentation approved by Mr. Johnson and Mrs. Dunlap. Mr. Johnson checked to make sure it was okay. There was nothing in there. And of course,
Sorry.
you have it. So when he brought it in, he was supposed to bring it in directly to the office. Amanda asked him to bring it in, didn't do it. I went out there and asked him to bring it in. Didn't do it. Had to go to his class. You bring it or else. He said, he goes, well, I says, then you can go home. If you're not gonna follow direction, you're going home. Go put it in your truck, take it home. We're calling mom, telling you you're being suspended for the rest of the day. for. So,
Let me ask you this.
And that's
was
right.
that a known student there, family, or is it a win farm? From here? Hey.
Wind farm. He's on.
Oh, win farm, okay. Yeah, so to me, you guys need to have a come to Jesus meeting with those kids and tell them, you have, this is a privilege to come here, not a right.
Onboarding.
However, we also need to be sensitive to the fact, some of the things that those kids go through.
That's so true. You're right, and you're right.
There's gotta be a
They're gonna
balance.
draw a hard line and build a hard wall.
And
In a
really,
relationship,
yeah,
and I hate that because that's the stupidest thing for admin to tell your teacher to build a relationship. But it is true.
It's hard, yeah.
It's hard. It's true that there are some of these kids that are fixing things that
Our
little kids are so blessed not to have.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
As a parent, I do understand the security reason, but I also don't think that they understand that we've had situations happen since here that Corona has never had happened before. So it's a learning curve for us going forward on, okay, this is the first time this has ever happened in this school. You know, what, like I said, what are those steps put in place? Because our kids are good kids.
And I agree with you on that, but I think we also need to communicate that fact that we have never had these things happen. We're working with council. We've had this incident. You know, we're learning right along with it.
You know what? What do you think about drafting, because we had a handful of folks here, okay, they're gonna share with others. What do you think about a nice little conclusion to everything that occurred in the last several months? Still moving forward, but sending a general letter with the things that we're discussing, the updates to all families within the school system. And letting them know, here's the things that we've been doing, here's the things we're working on, and here is what we're hoping as far as targets and goals and where we want to be.
But I'd also run away.
Oh, most certainly, yes.
I think the thing, if we set targets and goals, we're setting ourselves up for failure. We can say what our overall,
And I'm not saying like.
what our overall
let's-
goal is.
generality, but
Yeah, but I'm just thinking that if we're looking at targets and goals, I mean,
you don't want to set yourself
No,
up for
Yeah.
failure.
yeah.
I think that's the thing we gotta
We'll
look
come back
at
and
is,
bite
I
us
think we
in
do
the
the
butt.
positive letter to go out to communicate the steps we're taking and everything else. But saying that the ultimate conclusion is gonna be here till we have those reports from the Lincoln County Sheriff and Palms. I mean,
Well, that's the thing. I
Yeah.
don't think you can share that. I
No.
don't think it has to be very generic.
I
No.
think it has to.
State or finance. Then when all these details, we have to say, okay, this is what's being discussed, here's what's happening, we're looking at securing buildings, putting camera, additional cameras in those things.
Communication with parents is gonna be huge. And I have one final question. We hired a FFA teacher.
We have it offered, we're waiting. But we also have another one that applied that we may be interviewing, so she doesn't, she has until Friday to respond.
Okay, cool.
So,
Then I realized you got some other.
Does the one, last name start with an L?
no,
Curious.
Okay.
Okay.
We're working.
I know.
What other like grade openings are still waiting?
well, we're waiting on one elementary teacher. Because we had a person resign today, who's gonna be assigned to elementary, so we have one elementary opening. We have a high school social studies opening, and we have Marissa's PE business opening. That we're gonna look at doing as a district-wide PE health position and possibly a CTE class, because one of the candidates we have does have a CTE background. So we're gonna actually have a district-wide PE health teacher, so we can teach all the stuff we need to do through the curriculum. We've ignored elementary health for a while. But with the new health and fitness standards that are coming in with the new graduation, that person's gonna be district-wide PE health, so we can do some things with them doing their leadership or their CPE academy over in the elementary. So they get planning time and like that together, so we're interviewing candidates, I think we got to set up next Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday for the open position we have one.
So, yes, please.
I can't publicly say it, but I can tell you after a meeting.
Okay.
Resigned effective immediately, is that?
No, interview,
And here,
it's only 5 days.
that's only 5 days. Yeah.
But
Okay. What I was fixing to. All right, I'm going to adjourn this meeting. It is,
8:35.
8:35. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye.